Hello. Just want to give everybody a big thank you for coming in today. You can see we have about 25 people here, so that's fantastic. This will be my very first stream hosting a webinar online, so I do apologize if there's anything awkward or any sort of pauses or anything like that going on, but I'm going to do my best, and yeah, hopefully we have a good stream today. So again, thank you everyone for coming out. It really means a lot to me. I appreciate the support, and I hope we all learned something today. So without any further ado, I think it's best for me to just kind of dive in and get started here. Just to get started, I think if anybody does have any questions as things are ongoing, I will be keeping an eye out on the chat. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to throw them up into the live chat there, and I'll be able to answer those questions the best of my ability. And then at the end of the session, we will go ahead and have a Q&A session. So my goal today is to keep this to an hour. We might go a little bit over, and this is going to be recorded on YouTube permanently. So please feel free to come back and take a look at this. If you need to reference anything, if you want to share this with people, this will be up permanently. So if you have to run after 10 to 15 minutes, please feel free to come back later and watch it there. So yeah. So today we're going to be covering Microsoft 365. So up until a couple of weeks ago, this was called Office 365, and Microsoft has done a branding change and now calls it Microsoft 365. So some of the topics that we're going to be covering today are: what is Microsoft 365? We're going to be covering a cost-benefit analysis of Microsoft 365. That was provided to us by Forrester Group. Fantastic group of people. I've done webinars on G Suite, or actually presentations on G Suite in the past, and they did a lot of data that they put out into the public that I was able to use for that presentation as well. And I'll be doing a webinar on G Suite in the coming weeks as well here, as well as a social engineering webinar, which is going to be live next week. So other than the cost-benefit analysis of Microsoft 365, we're also going to be covering best practices for Microsoft 365. We're going to be talking about how to prepare your organization in case you're moving over to Microsoft 365. And we're going to be doing a little bit of a Microsoft 365 application overview and demo. So if you're not familiar with Microsoft 365, or if you're a light user and you do want to just learn how to use these applications and get some tips and tricks, we will be going through them and highlighting some of the more used features that our clients are constantly asking about, or struggle with a little bit, or just use day to day and find very, very useful. So that'd be the main goal for me today. After we finish our overview and demo of the applications, we're going to move on to a security checklist. And the security checklist, I hope, provides a lot of value for folks. This is going to be 4 main ways that Microsoft 365 can be targeted by malicious actors, or your data can be compromised in some way or another. And I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a checklist to make sure that your data remains secure, because although Microsoft 365 is a fantastic program, it does allow your data to be available in more places. The downside there is that it allows your data to be available in more places, which means that it's going to be liable to more threats. So I want to make sure everyone stays safe. And then the final thing we're going to be doing before the Q&A session is the backup checklist. So we're going to be reviewing a checklist that just goes over different things you should consider while picking a backup solution for your Microsoft 365 instance, or if you have a server in your office, or if you have a computer that you'd like to see backed up, or you just want to have a basic file backup if you're still using programs like Dropbox or anything like that. We're going to go over a little backup checklist for you. So yeah, we can dive right into it here, and we'll get started with what is Microsoft 365. So as you can see, Microsoft 365 is a collection of cloud-based productivity and collaboration tools created by Microsoft. So what Microsoft did was they've been giving people Office applications for well over 2 decades now, and they've finally managed to kind of get this up on the cloud and empower these programs with more connectivity, more collaboration, more instant communication, and a lot of other benefits. So now that they've kind of tuned this up a little bit over the last about 8 years or so since they've released Office 365, I'm now very confident in this program. It's become a lot more stable. They've smoothed out a lot of the bugs. About 5 years ago, we tried to use OneDrive, And it was just absolutely horrible. But as I mentioned, they've dramatically improved this. They noticed how well G Suite was doing, and they gave it a $2 billion cash injection for development over the last couple of years. And it really shows. It's become a very, very easy to use, intuitive program. It's definitely still a Microsoft program. You can get lost in the weeds if you need to, but if you're a small business, if you're a nonprofit, and you use these tools every day, you're not going to have a difficult time using these tools. So that's my main goal today, is to walk you guys through these and make sure that people are getting benefits out of them. So the first thing we're going to be covering is the Connect section here. So underneath Connect, you can see we've got Bookings. So Microsoft Bookings is an online and mobile application for small businesses who provide services to customers on an appointment basis. So if you're a nail salon, if you're a hair salon, if you're a computer repair shop, if you're a financial advisory firm, if you're having people come into your business and you're scheduling appointments with people, you're going to be able to use this program to allow your customers to see your availability, to book times, to come in, get text notifications, cancel appointments online, and start booking appointments with you and your team very, very easily online. The next program we're going to be covering is Microsoft Forms. So Microsoft Forms is a great application for collecting data and surveying people. So if you're a nonprofit, such as the firefighters, or if you're helping children out, or any sort of nonprofit, you're going to be able to get in touch with your donors. You're going to be able to get in touch with people that you're hosting events for. And you're going to be able to collect data and click one button and export that data over to Excel and analyze that using the new artificial intelligence tools built into Excel. So Microsoft Forms is a great way, in summary, to collect data and survey people to get feedback. So the next program we're going to be focusing on is everyone's least favorite or most favorite Microsoft program, Microsoft Outlook. So we're just going to be skimming through there. There's nothing revolutionary about it, but they have made some good improvements. So we'll be going over the new Outlook interface, and I'll be going over some basic tips and tricks there. But for the most part, it's still Outlook. It's still a personal information manager. It still lets you look at your emails. It still lets you manage contacts. It still lets you look at your calendar. It's Outlook. So the next thing we're going to be looking at is Microsoft Planner. I know a lot of people don't know that this program exists. As an IT manager, this program is invaluable to me. So if you are someone that manages projects, or you manage a team, and you want to be able to make sure things stay organized, you want to hold people accountable, you want to make sure things stay on deadlines, you want to be able to click a button and look at all the analytics, you're going to be able to do that with Microsoft Planner. It really is a great free program that's included inside of Microsoft 365 that not enough people use, in my opinion. Very intuitive and very simple to use. The next program we're going to be looking at is Microsoft Teams. So I will be doing another webinar at a later date about Teams. It is a very, very, very robust application now. It's absorbing Skype for Business. So if you're a Skype for Business user, you should be making a transition plan over to Microsoft Teams. It's going to be changing the game very, very soon here. You're able to do a ton of things inside of Microsoft Teams. At its core, it is a communication and collaboration platform that allows you to do video chats, voice chats, and instant messaging. But they've also built in the ability to tie in other applications, so I'll be showing you how to do that. For example, Microsoft Planner does not have a Mac or Windows application. You have to go into the web. So what I like to do is I've actually pinned Microsoft Planner into different channels and chats that I have. So I'm able to click a button and open up my Microsoft Planner app inside of Teams. I'm able to click a button and open up a website inside of Teams. I'm able to click a button and access all of my files through Teams. So Teams is kind of becoming that single pane of glass that you just need to access all of your organization's data in. So I will be doing a brief overview of Teams, but at a later date, we will be going more in depth for those interested. So the final part of Connect that we're going to be reviewing is Microsoft ToDo. So Microsoft ToDo is what it sounds like. It is a to-do list. It is a task managing program. I recommend every one of my staff use this as a personal task manager. We do share some things with it, but honestly, most of that defaults over to Planner. For the most part, people get by using Microsoft ToDo. Next part that we're going to be focusing on is Create. So these are the tools that allow you to create things inside of your office, such as OneNote, Excel, PowerPoint, and Word. So OneNote, for those that don't know, is a free-form information gathering and multi-user collaboration tool. Don't know what that is. There we go. And Microsoft Excel is going to allow us to make Excel sheets. It's a spreadsheet program. You're going to be able to analyze the data you put in there. You're going to be able to use graphing tools, macros, all the usual stuff that Excel people love or hate, depending on how your day is going. And then we're going to be talking about PowerPoint. Microsoft PowerPoint is just a basic presentation program, as everyone's aware of. Again, Excel, PowerPoint, Word, not really revolutionized inside of Microsoft 365, but the collaboration, the communication tools, those make these programs much, much easier to use nowadays. I know a lot of people struggle with things like having multiple versions of a document sent around via email and tracking the changes and making sure that you've sent something off and you're following up with someone to get that copy back that they've edited and all these kind of things. Those problems don't exist anymore now with Microsoft 365 and with programs like G Suite. You're able to share something using OneDrive or SharePoint. You'll get a notification when the Excel document or the Word document or the PowerPoint presentation has been edited, and it makes collaboration much, much easier nowadays. So we'll really be focusing more on the communication and collaboration standpoint of those three programs, more so than the functionality. I'm not interested in teaching macros today. I'm much more interested in just reviewing how you can use these tools with their new online versions and with their new cloud connected versions to improve the productivity of your team. So moving on to access, these are the tools we're going to be using to access these new programs. So bookings, forms, planner, as I mentioned, these are online only tools. So we will need to use a web browser to access these tools. So what Microsoft has done is they've actually created a new web browser called Microsoft Edge. So Microsoft Edge is very similar to Google Chrome. They use the same base engine called Chromium. So if you use Microsoft Edge, which we will be demoing, you'll notice it looks very similar to Google Chrome. It's essentially the same program. They work with the same add-ins. So if you like to use a pop-up blocker, if you like using Honey when you're shopping online, if you like having Hangouts built into it or any other application or add-on that you have for Google Chrome, it will work inside of Microsoft Edge. Also, we're going to be talking about Microsoft OneDrive. We're going to be looking at the online version, but the local version will also be covered very, very briefly, so we can show you how to access local files on your machine. And we're going to be doing the same thing with Microsoft SharePoint. So just so we're clear, OneDrive is a competitor to Google Drive, to Dropbox, and to Box and other programs like that. So at the end of the day, it is an online and local sync storage solution. You're able to put your files into your OneDrive folder, they get backed up to a cloud location, and then that gets dispersed to any devices that you have synced to your cloud account. So if you want to be able to share your OneDrive account information, maybe you have a spreadsheet you want to share with someone, maybe you just want to back up your information to many devices at once, you're going to be able to upload those devices to OneDrive. And then if you're doing a walk down the street and you need to edit a Word document, if you're on a ferry and you forgot to do a last minute adjustment to a presentation, you're going to be able to sign into your OneDrive account on any device, and you're going to be able to edit the information inside of there. And SharePoint is a collaboration and communication hub. It's essentially a web-based intranet, so you're going to be able to have things like communication posts, you're going to be able to share files up there, you're going to be able to have web pages up there. SharePoint has a ton of features, but today we're going to be focusing on the communication and collaboration standpoint of it, and we're going to be focusing on file management inside of SharePoint. Again, I want to make sure that this is a brief presentation where we're not going too in-depth with things. I'm very well aware that I like to ramble, so I do apologize about that, but when we get into the actual demo of things, I want to make sure that this is very easy to understand, and I'm going to be avoiding a lot of the overly technical stuff. If you do have any follow-up questions with us about the technical side, if you want to learn how to get this stuff set up, please feel free to send an email to techtips@umbrellaitservices.ca or throw a message up in the chat and we can get in touch. But for today, we're just going to be doing a brief overview of these programs. I don't really want to get super in-depth and get overwhelming with that kind of stuff. So without any further ado, we're going to jump over to the cost-benefit analysis of Microsoft 365. This is the driest part of the presentation, I think, but I think it's important that people understand what kind of benefits you can really get from Microsoft 365. So as you can see here, 162% return on investment for an average of 63 companies. So again, Forrester did a really good job here. They interviewed 63 independent organizations. ranging from 500 staff all the way up to 60,000 staff. And the average return on investment that they found was 162%. So this is one of the best investments you can make in your business. It doesn't matter how big you are or how small you are. Obviously, if you're a 3-person team, you're not going to see as big of a benefit as you would if you were a 100-person or 500-person business, but you will see a dramatic increase in productivity and an ease of communication if you use these tools. So looking at the return on investment side of things, you can see again 162% return. Looking at the internal rate of return, we've got a 468% markup there, and the net present value per user is $1,348. So essentially, over the course of a year, every company that instituted this saw an average return of $1,348 per staff member. So you're paying as little as $5 a month for each account of these people. That's $60 a year, and you're seeing a return of $1,348 on average. That, again, one of the best investments that you can make here. So a very quick breakdown. You can see over here we've got reduced licensing costs, so $53,611. So this would be things like not having to spend $250 or $500 on Microsoft Office for every staff member. That's included in a $15 a month subscription. If you wanted to look over here at the reduced control and compliance costs, a lot of the work that a company like mine does, where we're constantly maintaining things, we're making things are secure, we're keeping things updated, a lot of that stuff is done automatically now by Microsoft on their end. So looking at the reduced control and compliance costs, that's $78,000 coming out of my pocket going over to Microsoft. So again, they're doing a very, very good job here, making sure that you're going to see a lot of benefits from these applications. We've also got the $197,000 reduction in eliminated communication technologies. So I know a lot of people are using Zoom. A lot of my friends and family and people that work with me have unfortunately heard me do some rants about Zoom. It is a privacy stealing, it's not a good program. A lot of people are spending a lot of money on programs like Zoom. They're spending a lot of money on other communication platforms like Slack. You simply don't need to use these programs anymore. They do have slight edges in terms of the communication standard that Zoom uses. I know you can have more people in a room. It's much easier to mute people, and the artificial intelligence there is much better at detecting background noise and filtering it. But again, Microsoft is a giant behemoth. They're pouring money into programs like Teams, and I wouldn't be shocked if they leapfrogged Zoom very, very shortly, as well as Slack. So $197,000 in eliminated communication technologies costs. We've also got $248,000 in reduced implementation effort. So again, this is more IT, more HR, a lot of training time going into these different programs. So you're going to save $248,000 in costs on average if you're constantly focusing on implementing new technologies. Again, these programs are very intuitive, very easy to use. We've also noticed a $593,000 reduction in back-end hardware costs. So again, you're using web-based applications, you're using things in the cloud. You don't need a file server anymore. You don't need to spend $50,000 on a file server to last you 5 to 7 years. You can just put your files into SharePoint or OneDrive and have a good backup solution, and you've got pretty much all the functionality that you would normally get from a file server, and then some. Again, for as little as $5 a month. So you can do the math on that and see if you have an organization with 20 people inside of there, you're going to be spending a significantly smaller amount of money for a wide range of products that are going to be able to do the same thing that a $50,000, $40,000 file server would offer. Also looking again here at the reduced IT support effort of $1.1 million. Again, this is more money going to Microsoft. Well, it's not actually going anywhere. It's staying in your business that most folks would have been spending on IT support. So instead of people having to troubleshoot different apps and programs, again, file servers, maybe Microsoft Word, the local version's having issues, etc., you're going to be able to just not worry about those IT support issues because, again, your staff are going to be using these intuitive online or local programs, and you don't need to worry about having things like server upkeep or having a redundant line into your business for internet. It's a lot of costs you can reduce by implementing these programs into your business. One of the biggest things that I like to talk about here, you can see the two largest items on this list, 2.5 million, 2.2 million, increased mobile worker productivity. I can't tell you how many times I've been driving to a client or back from a client, and I've had to pull over quickly and make a couple of adjustments or update a document or make a quick Teams call or anything like that. Your office is wherever you are now. And this is fantastic. If you can hook your team up with an iPad, or they just have a laptop or even a smartphone, you're able to get 90% of what you need to get done on a computer on the go now. So if you have a business that's a trades business, if you have a business where your staff are out and about, a consulting business, anything like that, they are going to be able to do their jobs remotely. So obviously right now with all of this zombie apocalypse stuff that's going on, it's a very good time to start considering cloud solutions like Microsoft 365 or G Suite for your small business, because if you have staff working from home, they're going to be able to hop onto a computer and just get to work right away. So you can notice here as well, reduced capital expenditures and operating expenditures. So this is huge in terms of the amount of time that people spend. Oh, sorry about that. My assistant here has hit the keyboard. Let me get this presentation screen back up here. This is one of the little quirks that I'm not quite used to yet here. All right. So in terms of reduced capital expenditures and operating expenditures, a lot of people spend a lot of time waiting to get messages back. They waste a lot of time tracking down different copies of emails, as I mentioned previously. There's a lot of time when people are working where they're not really working. They're waiting to hear from people. So being able to hop on a Teams chat, share your screen, and immediately get in touch with people is a very, very important benefit for a lot of different businesses. So again, $2.5 million is the average reduced cost here for a lot of these businesses from implementing these tools. Final thing I want to talk about is that over the course of 7 months, that is the amount of time that it takes for the average business to get the full return on investment going here. So after about 7 months, you can see here, they get their initial investment of $113,000 back. So again, I don't expect this to cost $113,000 for the average business to implement that's watching this video. It's very, very inexpensive to get this done. Maybe a couple of $1,000s if you're a 15-person, 10-person business. It's not that expensive. Microsoft has support tools to do this. There's a ton of companies like mine that can help you migrate over very, very easily. It's a very, very simple process to get started with Microsoft 365, and you can break this down into different segments while you're doing the migration. So I'm going to move on now to the benefits of Microsoft 365. So looking at the benefits of Microsoft 365, I can see over here that we have the savings section, we have accessibility, flexibility, security, organization, collaboration, reports, and productivity. So in terms of savings, most businesses reduce the cost of operations by 36% by implementing this tool. That again comes from Forrester, but a reduction of 36%. Most staff in your association will save 36% of their time. When people started implementing these, we've worked with the firefighters on implementing these tools. We've worked with a large number of small businesses to implement these tools. The staff love the benefits of these programs because it is so easy and simple to use this, and it makes their jobs easier. You don't have people grinding away on things that don't benefit them. They're going to be able to hop right into this and start. You're going to save money as a business owner, and the staff are going to be able to save time. So it's a win-win for everybody. In terms of the accessibility, like I mentioned, if you're on a ferry, if you're at home, if you're at the office, if you're driving, whatever, you're going to be able to access your data anywhere, anytime, which is fantastic. Flexibility ties into the accessibility. If you have people who are working usually random hours, I'm going to use a firefighter as an example again because I have a lot of experience with them in cloud services. You have a firefighter working a day shift. He comes home at 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night. He's got to see his kids for a couple hours, and then he's got to actually do his union job and start working. He's going to be able to start working at 9 o'clock at night and get whatever it is that he needs to get done. And he's going to be able to notify his team members who will get little notifications depending on their availability. And they'll be able to hop on, audit his work, see the changes he made, and get to work and start working collaboratively. It doesn't matter if it's 11 o'clock at night, 6 o'clock in the morning, or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The flexibility of these tools is huge. In terms of security, Microsoft has a team, I believe, of 10,000 engineers that are working on their own encryption standards. They're constantly working on making sure that every file you upload into OneDrive is individually encrypted. It's a very secure platform. Next week, we will be talking about social engineering because that is the #1 way. Over 91% of attacks on OneDrive and small businesses nowadays come from social engineering. That's where people hack people instead of hacking systems. So again, the security aspect here means you have to spend less money on security, but you do have to be more aware as you're using these tools. Next thing is the organization. So I'm going to be going over that very briefly, but a lot of folks don't have a proper org chart for their business. They don't have the employees' roles defined. They don't know what resources their employees need to get their job done. So being able to organize your business and develop a proactive systemic approach to Microsoft 365 and organizing your association into resources, workflows, and users really does provide a lot of benefits for most small businesses. The next thing that we're going to be talking about is the collaboration standpoint. So you're going to be able to share anything inside of Microsoft 365, such as OneDrive, with anyone inside or outside of your organization instantly, and you're going to be able to collaborate live with anyone on any file inside of Microsoft Teams, which again is great. Then we've got the reports standpoint here. So we're not going to really be going into this too much today. I've kind of added it into the end of the presentation where we can look at workspace analytics and my analytics. Delve is another great program. But we're really not going to be focusing on that today. That's more of an administrative side. So today we're just going to be focusing on the reports inside of SharePoint and OneDrive and very small basic things like that. But the reports are going to be able to let you keep oversight on user activity, critical events, and other things like that. And the final benefit that most folks notice is productivity. So you're going to be able to automate tasks using Power Apps, which again is something we're going to cover in a different presentation. And you're going to be able to reduce downtime and simplify workflows if you are organizing things and implementing Microsoft 365 into your organization. So we can move on to the next slide here. And I'm going to be talking about the best practices, policies, and guidelines inside of Microsoft 365. So I want to talk about this stuff because it's really important to make sure that you have a solid ground floor to build this off of. I've seen a lot of organizations that we come in to help. They've kind of created a half-baked solution where they've implemented these tools into their business and it's not working for them and they don't know why it's not working for them and they're frustrated and they're turned off of it. We did an assessment with a company, about 75 staff, and they implemented this in a way where it took them over 2 minutes to receive an email with Office 365. Their back-end MX records weren't configured properly. Their staff didn't have a data management policy, so people were just sharing things all over the place. Things were going to the wrong people. People were using their own devices for work, and they would be doing meetings, and people would be in the bathroom or looking at stuff they shouldn't be looking at. And it's really important to make sure you've defined these things in your business. With your staff, if you're a small business, you have a benefit where you can have a nice tight meeting and everyone can kind of get acquainted with these rules. But having a data management policy, for example, it's very, very important for people to understand that if they're going to be sharing things, they shouldn't be sharing things externally with other sources. If people are going to be bringing their own device into work, they need to understand what acceptable use is. They need to understand that they should have a work profile. They need to have certain amounts of antivirus and other protection on there for them. If they're going to be doing things like implementing OneDrive instead of having a file server, you should still have a business continuity plan. So what that means is if you have a small business where you are keeping 15 years of your accounting records on a cloud platform, you are building your house on Microsoft Yard. You should back that data up using the 3-2-1 backup policy, which is a policy that I learned over the years, which means your data is in 3 different places at all times. Your data is backed up on 2 different platforms, and one of those platforms is a cold storage location, which means it's not in use. It is completely separate from the rest of your association. It's very important to make sure that if your staff spills coffee on their laptop, they understand what the policy is to get themselves back up and running without any increased amount of downtime. Same thing with the security response plan. If someone gets an email from somebody and it looks legitimate and they click the link and all of a sudden their computer has ransomware on it and they can't turn it on and it says you got to send 1,000 Bitcoin to this address, they should understand what the security response plan is. I got to call IT, I got to call HR, I got to do this thing on my computer myself. Whatever the response is that you develop inside of your business, that should be known with all of your employees, especially, again, if they're going to be working from home during a situation like this. Password guidelines is also very important. Not so much anymore, but a good example of a password guideline that we mandate across all of our clients is multi-factor authentication. If I type in a password to get into one of my accounts online, I have a little app on my phone, it pops up, It's got a 6-digit code. I enter that 6-digit code. I'm able to get into my application. Every single account that you have should be using multi-factor authentication in the year 2020. Looking at the best practices again, as I mentioned, a lot of this stuff, most of the security concerns that come up nowadays do come in through social engineering instead of coming in from technical attacks. You don't have a lot of worms running around nowadays crashing systems. You do have a lot of people calling in saying, hey, I'm a hacker. I just looked at your business's website. I looked at your IT provider's website. I know your IT provider's name. I'm going to pretend to be your IT provider. Hi, this is Steve or Jake from Umbrella IT Services. I need you to tell me your password. I'm trying to get into your account. You should have a verification method, or you should know that your IT provider is never going to call in and ask for a password. You need to be wary of phishing scams all the time. We have one of our clients, they worked very closely with an MRI clinic. This MRI clinic was hacked. The hackers got into their emails, and instead of taking down the business, what the hackers did was they emailed everyone that the MRI clinic had been in contact with, and they were pretending to be this law firm saying, hey, I really appreciate this Word document you just sent me. Here's my thoughts on it with an attached document. If you receive an email from somebody that you were just talking to with a document, they say, hey, looks good, here's my revisions on it, what do you think? I would click on that. A lot of people would click on that. And what happened was this client of ours clicked on this email from an MRI clinic, and the team that was targeted, all 3 people inside of the team clicked on the link, and it was only because of our AI-based antivirus that this piece of ransomware didn't get out and get all over the place. But a lot of the times, these people will be targeting you with stuff like that. So even if you're receiving emails from familiar sources, you shouldn't be accepting stuff like that. So again, back to the best practices here. You never want to leave your devices unattended, unlocked. Again, if you're going to have multiple devices like a smartphone, home computer, laptop, etc., connected to your Microsoft 365 cloud solution, you have to make sure you have separate accounts set up. You have to make sure you're not going to go leave this up. If you're going to go take this to the beach and work on your laptop at the beach, you don't want to just leave your laptop there and not plug that in. If you're in university, you don't want to have your laptop here and get up and go talk to somebody else. Or if you're working in a shared space, it's very important to make sure that you're locking your devices before you walk away from them. You also want to reject unsolicited offers for help via text, email, or phone. I've had a lot of people call in and say, hey, Microsoft's on the other line. They said my computer has a virus and they need to log into it. Should I let them in or not? And the answer to that is always no. It's no one from Microsoft is ever going to call you. No one from my company is ever going to call you and offer you help on your computer. We just need remote access. You're always getting scammed if that's the case. The other issue is the reporting irregularities, malfunctions, or other problems to IT. If you click on a link or something like that and it flickers and you see a little code box come up and then it disappears right away, don't ignore that. Always make sure you're talking to IT, you're talking to HR. Whatever your security response plan is, make sure you're following it. If you notice anything irregular happening on your computer or your smartphone or your tablet or your desktop, make sure you're following up with the appropriate people there. Never give out your personal information via email or phone. Another good example of this that I like to do is for vacation responders. I don't set up a vacation responder that says I'm going to be away from this date to this date, because a lot of hackers use that as an opportunity to email other people saying, oh, I got this email from whatever, Jake's email, and said he's in Mexico for 2 weeks. What they then do is they can spoof my email and send an email to my contact saying, I'm stuck in Mexico. I need you to send me $1,000 for a plane ticket home. And meanwhile, I'm disconnected. I'm in Mexico, and my staff are panicking that the boss is stuck in Mexico, or maybe they're happy, and they're going to potentially email me that $1,000. So again, it's very important that you're not giving people your phone number. Don't give people addresses. Don't give out sensitive information that you wouldn't share normally with other people. It's not a good idea unless you've verified people first. You know, if you're talking to someone on the phone, oh, how's the wife and kids, blah, 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 whatever, and they can verify themselves in a way that's casual, and you don't come off as a tinfoil hat wearing paranoid person, then that's going to be best for everybody. Same thing here. Don't give out your passwords via email, text, or phone. I hope I don't have to get into that one too much. And then finally, the training. I think it's really important that people receive security awareness training. So we're going to be covering that next week. Same thing with social engineering training and productivity training. So again, today is going to be a very brief introduction. We're not going to be doing a lot of training, but I do think it's very important that people receive those 3 different types of training as a mandate from your organization. You'll benefit a lot from it. You'll benefit a lot from not experiencing downtime, from having your business hacked. You want to make sure that the integrity, availability, the confidentiality of your data remains intact, and you don't want to have problems inside of your business. You don't want files going missing. You don't want multiple copies of data. You don't want hackers or competitors getting access to your IP. So it's very important to make sure your staff are trained and aware of all the different threats that are out there nowadays. So I'm going to move on to the next little section here, which is getting organized. So we're going to dive into the actual demo immediately after this. We're just going to go over one more little bit of prep work here, and this is just main to I want to make sure people understand what it means to get organized and how you can structure your organization and association to properly leverage these tools to accomplish your organization's goals. So it's very important to organize your team because you're going to be improving productivity, you're going to be boosting morale, and you're going to be expediting the growth and scaling of your association. So as part of every employment agreement that I send out, I make sure that my staff understand these three things here. I want them to understand their responsibilities, their expectations, and their deliverables. That's very important because at the end of the week, we're able to have a team meeting and we're able to go over those three categories and make sure that they're on track with their goals. Making sure that people understand what their responsibilities are is very, very simple, and it makes sure that you have a bird's eye view of your organization and you're going to be able to kind of direct your team and manage them in a simpler way. So really important to define responsibilities. I define that as just day-to-day tasks. What's your responsibility for the day? If the phone rings, you got to pick it up. If a ticket comes in, you got to deal with it. If you have, if we have maintenance we need to do on our Windows server or on our phone servers, whatever, that's your responsibility. Expectations would be something that's kind of the cultural side of your business. So expectation is you're coming in hygienic. You want to make sure you're showing up 5 minutes early for every appointment, et cetera, et cetera. And deliverables would be the long-term effects of them following the expectations and responsibilities. So if you have a deliverable of, as a sales guy, you've got to bring in $250,000 a year in sales, that gets broken down into your responsibilities and expectations. But you can look at this in a quarterly or monthly or bi-weekly basis with your staff, and you can go over the deliverables that you have and say, okay, you've got a $250,000 sales quota. We're 3 months in. We've only done $10,000, or we've done $125,000. That's fantastic. You're on the right path here. So making sure those three things are defined, it's really good to have that because your staff are going to be able to know they're doing a good job. They know what's expected of them, and you're going to have that peace of mind knowing that all of the different aspects of your business are being taken care of. And the way I like to sort staff out is by individuals, organizational units, and groups. So when you're lining things up, you want to make sure that you are organizing people and you're not just having like somebody, for example, who can get overwhelmed if all of a sudden they're doing a little bit of marketing, they're doing a little bit of sales, they're doing a little bit of technical work, they're doing a little bit of client relations, they're doing office management. It can get out of hand if you have one individual have to wear all those different hats. So what I like to do is sort things out by organizational unit. So I have a flow chart here that kind of came up earlier, and we'll get into that. But in terms of an organizational unit, you would, as a standard template for most small businesses or nonprofits, you have accounting, you have the technical work, the actual goods that you're delivering to your clients, you have marketing, you have sales, you have legal, you have HR, you have these standard organizational units that you can then derive groups from. So if you have a marketer, for example, maybe you have a social media marketer, maybe you have a traditional marketer, maybe you have an event coordinator, etc. So it's very important to make sure you have that kind of pyramid built out where you say, okay, yeah, we've got a organizational unit of marketing, we've got a social media marketer, and that falls down to Susan or Steve, who's going to be handling the responsibilities, expectations, and deliverables of that specific role. When you get that stuff defined out in terms of Microsoft 365 and G Suite, you're actually able to add people into groups and organizational units, and they'll inherit permissions. So that goes into the resources and processes side over here. So let's say you have a marketer and you add in Susan or Steven into the social media marketing role group inside of your business. They're going to automatically get access to the calendars they need access to, the files they need access to. They're going to be able to get access to anything that they need, all the Teams channels, all of the templates inside of Microsoft Word that you've built, all of the PowerPoint presentation templates they've built, et cetera, et cetera. So they're going to inherit all of the different permissions that they need because you place them inside of the correct organizational unit and group. So it's a really, really good system to have in place. The next thing that we're going to talk about really quickly is the resources. So again, looking at the individuals, organizational units, and groups, you're going to need specific shared resources for those three categories. You're going to need private resources for those three categories. You're going to need files for those three categories. They're going to need specific devices. They're going to need access to applications. They're going to need access to contact directories. They're going to need to follow specific workflows to accomplish their responsibilities and deliverables. So it's really important that you look at these individuals, organizational units, and groups and make sure you're setting your team up for success. If you have someone, again, as a salesperson that you need to reach a certain goal, you need to make sure they have all the resources they need to get their job done. Do they have access to your calendar if they need to book a meeting? Do they have access to their own calendar? Do they have access to different resources they may need, like file templates, etc.? Do they have a laptop to work off of? Do they have a tablet? What are they doing? How are they getting this work done? What applications do they need access to? Do they need a CRM? Do they need Microsoft 365? Do they need to have Maybe they need to have Salesforce, etc. What directory do they need access to? Are you going to be giving them access to all of your contacts? Do they have their own contacts? What type of workflows are they going to be going through day to day? Do they have proper sheets that they can say, okay, I've completed this many calls, etc. It's very important to make sure that you've considered this stuff before you move into Microsoft 365. You can, like I said earlier, make a migration in segments, so you don't need to worry about all this stuff at once. But it is really, really important to make sure that as you're trying to grow and scale your business, you've considered this stuff, because it makes things so much easier when you've got this stuff outlined. Underneath the processes task here, we can see individual tasks, repetitive tasks, scheduled tasks, projects, and PPDIOO. So looking at the individual tasks, again, I'm going to fall back to the individuals, organizational units, and groups. You've got things like individual tasks that people are going to have to do. Maybe it's just, hey, Steve from IT, the printer's broken. And then he goes and fixes the printer and it's done. Or maybe it's, hey, Steve, it's 3 months. You got to make sure the printer heads are clean. And that's a repetitive task. And then you have things like scheduled tasks, where maybe once a quarter I meet with my clients. That's another task that would come up. And I have to think of all the resources that I would need for those tasks and who's going to be responsible in my organization to take care of those tasks. And then the final part of the thing here is projects. So if I have a project that's coming up, I need to, again, think of the users and resources that I need to take care of those projects. But in my experience, the overwhelming majority of businesses out there do need to do these same tasks all the time. Most businesses revolve around a small percentage of tasks. I like to follow the Pareto principle with this. 80% of your business's revenue comes from 20% of the work you do. If you can identify what that 20% is, you can focus on it, you can make very strict processes to make sure that gets done, and you can use PPDIOO, which is prepare, plan, deliver, design, implement, operate, and optimize. So prepare, you need to make sure that what you've done is you've prepared everything you need to do to get started. You've made a plan, you've outlined what's going to be done to get this project done. You're going to design a solution, you're going to implement that solution, you're going to operate whatever it is that you're doing, and then you're going to optimize it. So if you're a nail technician or a lash technician, again, you've got a full plan laid out. Your staff understands what steps they need to do the nail or the lash thing. I should have picked another topic, but anyways, they know how to implement the solution. They know how to go ahead and operate. They can go through it, and they can make notes and say, oh, you know what? I was sloppy here. I messed up. Someone's blind now. I can optimize this and make sure no one goes blind next time they sit in my chair. So it's very important to make sure that you're optimizing your business by looking, again, at the 20% of procedures that your business is doing that's bringing in 80% of the revenue, and then creating a plan and making sure people know what their role is inside of the organization related to those tasks, and making sure they have the resources that they need to accomplish those tasks. Because if people feel set up for success, you're going to be in a lot better place. So when you're finished, you'll have a rough version of this. This is something that's very, very light. This isn't complete. This is just something I built for this very quickly. But for example, here, using Umbrella IT Services, you can see here we've got contractors on the far left. So I've got roles. They are a user inside of Microsoft 365. They would be under the contractors group. and they're going to get these permissions assigned to them. They are going to need different applications, they're going to need different calendars, they're going to need different templates, they're going to need different internal resources such as files, etc. They're going to need different mailing lists. So if they need to get in contact with anybody, they're going to be able to just type out an email to suppliers@umbrellaitservices.ca or financial clients at umbrellaitservices.ca, and it's going to be able to send off a mailing list. If they're going to be able to need access to the different Microsoft Planner projects that they have, which are going to be automatically assigned to them because they are a contractor. Same thing happens with human resources, technicians, and sales. Any role that I assign an individual to, they automatically inherit each of these sections. And they also inherit these restrictions and these permissions. So for example, contractors, if I give someone an Umbrella IT Services email and they're just a contractor, I don't want them to be able to delete their emails. It's the same thing if they're a charitable events coordinator or anyone that's interacting externally with people. I usually don't allow them to delete emails because as an owner, I want to be able to, let's say there's an incident that comes up, I want to be able to go into that email and audit it and see, okay, this is what actually happened. I can see what's going on here. No one's deleting emails. Nothing fishy's happening here. No communications are going out that shouldn't be happening through an Umbrella IT Services email account. You can see here also with contractors, I actually restrict them from sending external emails. Maybe I don't want them to. Maybe I've whitelisted a very specific number of domains that they're able to contact. Sending external Teams invites. I don't want a contractor to be coming into my business, doing a Teams video chat, screen sharing, and showing all of our IP with somebody. I can't really prevent them from doing that. I have a lot of trust with the people that I hire, but it doesn't hurt for me to have that technical limitation in place. Same thing with downloading files locally. If they need to access something, they can log into the web where I can audit all of their activity. They don't have the ability to go in and download my entire IP or all of my marketing folders or any folders that have been applied to them. They have to access them through the web. I can also restrict them from editing files inside of SharePoint or OneDrive. That means that if they go in and they start messing with a password sheet or something like that, they can only make comments. They can't actually change the final version. Now with OneDrive, as we're about to get into, you can actually roll that back and look at version history and undo any trouble they do, but I don't want to have to deal with that headache, so contractors are only allowed to make comments. They're not allowed to do final edits. I've also got it set up here where they're allowed to access data outside of the Edge browser. They're not allowed to do that as a contractor. If they want to access my company's files, they've got to go into a web browser that I control, into a piece of software that I control, and I have total oversight over everything they're doing. And you can see much laxer restrictions here for human resources and technicians and sales. So maybe for technicians, I don't want them to access billing information. Maybe I don't want them to be able to share specific files externally. Maybe I don't want people to be able to delete emails as part of sales or share specific files externally, or they're not allowed to access OneDrive from specific applications. Now, the reason why that would be there on sales is a really big problem in terms of security is insecure apps. So I don't want to have a sales guy going, oh, I found this great sales program. It was on a Facebook ad, and now I'm going to add it to my OneDrive, and it's going to be able to scan everything and get full access to all of my company's files and all of my company's calendars. I don't want salespeople to be able to do that and put the rest of the organization at risk. So to summarize the organization section, as I mentioned earlier, I do have a tendency to rant, especially when no one is around to tell me to shut up, so I apologize. But in summation, it's very important to make sure that your organization is defined into these categories: users, resources, and processes. You have to make sure that your staff understand the responsibilities, expectations, and deliverables that comes with their role. You have to make sure they understand what roles they're a part of. You have to make sure you've clearly defined the permissions and resources they need to be able to follow through on that role. And then you need to make sure that the processes that that role is responsible for are very clearly outlined for your staff. If you can get those things done, you'll go from a 5-person business to a 50-person business much quicker, with much less of a headache and a lot more hair and a lot less grades. So it's very important to make sure that before you're using a tool like Microsoft 365, or if you're focusing on growth, I highly recommend getting these 3 categories outlined and defined. So without any further ado, we can now get started with the Microsoft stuff. So again, I'm very excited to be able to share this with you guys today. We're going to get into the demo side of things now, so this is where the ball will really get rolling. So again, thank you for your patience so far. Now this is what everybody kind of signed up for. So focusing first here, we've got access. So we've got Microsoft Search and Storage applications making your data accessible, making accessing your data easier than ever. Sorry. So looking at Microsoft Edge, what is it? It's a web browser. It allows you to do Microsoft Search. It allows you to sync data across different devices. It allows you to have different profiles and accounts. It has Chromecast support because, again, it's built the same way as Google Chrome. And it has a lot of extension support the same way that Google Chrome does. So I'm just going to jump on over here to Microsoft Edge, and we can take a look at this web browser. So looking at the web browser here, you can see it looks very similar to Google Chrome. We've got some folders that we bookmarked up here. We've got the ability to refresh, go back and forward. We've got our secure location thing here. You can see I've got access to my SharePoint. We've got the ability to favorite or unfavorite different pages. We've got the ability to open different tabs and access our favorites. We've got our profile up here. So if I wanted to, right now I have my demo at umbrellaitservices.ca without the ability to sync data. If I wanted to, I could add a profile, click add again. And now I'm going to be able to sign in. Maybe I want to sign in with my personal account. Maybe I want to sign in with Jake at umbrellaitservices.ca or whatever account that I want to access with. Being able to have different profiles means that I'm going to be able to segment my data and be able to keep all of that stuff private and secure. So if I want to have my marketing at Umbrella or tech tips at Umbrella, etc., I'm going to be able to sync all of the bookmarks and the resources that come with that. So if I assign a new staff member to marketing at Umbrella, they're going to automatically get all the bookmarks that they need to get from the marketing at umbrellaitservices.ca Edge account, if that makes sense. Also looking over here, we've got the ability to create a new tab, new window, new in-private window. We can zoom in, we can zoom out. I'll zoom in a little bit because some people might be on other screens. The ability to look at our favorites, the ability to look at history, downloads, applications that we've synced with Microsoft Edge, different extensions, the ability to print collections of applications, the ability to read a website aloud in case we have some accessibility issues, the ability to cast media to a device. So if I wanted to do a presentation live, I could click this button and have this show up on the big screen. And I can also go into settings here. So looking in settings again, very familiar to Google Chrome. My favorite thing to do is just you go into appearances here and you change it to the dark setting. It's easier on the eyes. I don't like the light setting. It's very, very bright, so I usually keep it dark. You can have your default zoom settings, all that kind of stuff. So I do recommend that you take a little bit of time and go through this setting. But other than that, it's Microsoft Edge. It's a web browser. It does what you need it to do. You can go here, open up a new tab. You'll get your home page. What's really nice about Microsoft Edge, we talked about the Microsoft Search function very shortly. Microsoft Search means that I can search Umbrella IT services and the web. So if I want to look up, for example, G Suite, it's going to bring up all of the stuff in here. So if I wanted to search my files, I've got a search for G Suite going on here. So G Suite email, G Suite collaboration, all this kind of stuff. If I search my files, I can see here, we've got different demos. We've got a collaborative document, one of my employees, page names, etc. So I'm actually searching inside of my OneDrive and SharePoint files right now. I can search my calendar. I can search an overview. I can search organizations. I can search for whatever I want. And it's all going to be able to come up through here. So it's very handy being able to use that as a one search tool and find either information online or search through my organization by using the Microsoft Edge web browser. And again, what's really nice is I'm going to be able to open up this web browser and it's got just my work stuff on it. I don't have to worry about information coming in from like personal stuff. Maybe I've got a YouTube channel or maybe I've got drone videos or whatever. I don't have to worry about any of that. I open up Microsoft Edge and it's just my work content. I don't have to worry about anything else. It's very nice having centralized location to access all of my data. Now the next thing I want to talk about really briefly is OneDrive. So I've got OneDrive open here. The way that I recommend people access things is by going to portal.office.com. And that's going to give you access to all of your applications here. So if I click on all apps, I can see these are all of the tools that are included inside of Microsoft 365. So again, as I mentioned, we are going to be skipping some of these today. I can do separate videos on these if people are interested, much more succinct videos. But focusing on Microsoft Delve, for example, this is a great way to look at what people are doing inside of your organization. I'm not going to do that today. I'll just hop on over to OneDrive. And now I can see inside of my OneDrive, I've got applications, demo notes, demo. Over on the left-hand side here, I've got my files. I've got files I recently worked on. I've got files that are shared with me. I've got a recycle bin. And I've got my different shared libraries here. So these would be shared SharePoint libraries that we're going to talk about later. I've got the ability up here to create a new folder, new Word document, an Excel workbook, PowerPoint presentation, OneNote, forms, etc. I can upload files, I can upload folders from my computer. If I wanted to sync the directory that I'm looking at right now, if I wanted to have this data accessible on my computer locally, I can click sync, and it's going to open up OneDrive on my computer, and it's going to create a folder that contains all these files that syncs with the cloud. So if I just want to work on my computer and have that data automatically get backed up and synced to the cloud, so that if I need to go somewhere else and bring my laptop, I'm going to be able to work on the laptop and not have to worry about keeping my data in multiple different places. OneDrive is going to be that centralized location that hosts all of my data. So I can access it on my phone, I can access it on my laptop, and I can access it on my desktop. And finally, we've got Automate. So this is another tool that I mentioned we're going to get into at another presentation. It's too much to cover at once, but you are able to automate a number of workflows and tasks. For example, if I had an accounting folder, anything I put in there could automatically get printed. It could automatically have a PDF version created and put into another folder. There are a lot of options that I could do. I could have a shared folder with somebody. Anytime something gets added or changed inside of that folder, we both get an email about it, etc. It's all about, again, going back to defining the resources and the workflows that your business and your staff need to know about, because then you can automate a lot of this stuff. Again, 36% reduction in labor by implementing these tools that cost $5 a month per person. You're going to be able to automate 36% on average of what your staff and what your job is every day. So if your boss doesn't want to talk about, they don't want to know about this stuff, you can automate 36% of your job and still get 100% of the pay. And if you're the boss, you can automate 36% of the mundane tasks your staff hate to do and have them focus on doing other things and grow your business faster. It's a win-win for everybody. So really quickly, just on managing files inside of here, you can see when I hover over a different file or a folder, I get different options here. So there's a little 3-button menu and there's a little share button. So if I click share, this is a very good way to send secure information. This was asked to me very recently. If you want to share information with people in a very secure, easy way, you can click that. And I can see here, share with anyone with the link, with people inside of my organization, people with existing access, or specific people. Do I want to allow editing? Do I want to set an expiration date? And do I want to set a password? So let's say that I was going to be sharing this with somebody and I wanted to make sure that it was going to be someone where I'll do the anyone with the link. If I wanted to share this with somebody, let's say it's it's a mortgage application. I've got a lot of my mortgage information in here. I've got my social insurance number. I've got a couple of years worth of financials, and I want to share that information with somebody. A lot of people that I know, a lot of mortgage brokers, they just send stuff over email. And again, that is not secure. You're creating a second copy of a file. If your mortgage brokerage gets hacked, all of a sudden you've got 100, 200,000 different clients of yours, all of their financial records, all of their personal information is now in the hand of these hackers, and your company is now liable. That is not a good time. It's a lot easier to go anyone with the link, set an expiration date, 2 days, set a password, apply that, type in the email address of the person you're sharing it with, you're done. Alternatively, if you wanted to just share it with specific people, you click specific people, you type in the email address, you click send, you're done. Nice and easy. Then, what's really nice about this is you're going to be able to work on things at the same time. You can see here, if I hover over those 3 dots, I can see here that I've shared this file with myself, I've edited it, well, technically demo shared it with Jake, and Jake edited it, Jake added a comment, Andrew has come in here and made a couple comments. I viewed it. There's been 5 views total. Gives you a lot of information. So if you share this again, let's say you're a mortgage broker and you're sharing this with your different vendors, or if you're somebody who's sharing that information with a mortgage broker, they're going to be able to see my mortgage broker has viewed this. My mortgage broker has shared this information. My mortgage broker has edited it. They've left comments for me. And they're going to get notifications as you make those changes. They don't have to sit around all day and go, when is Steve going to email me? I really need to get that copy of that email in. It just shows up for them. They don't need to worry about any of that stuff. So it makes collaborating much, much easier. So we'll do this right now. We'll click on this. These little 3 dots here. It gives me the option to open it in the browser or in the app. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this in the browser in a second. And then I'm going to work on this with my Jake account. And you guys will get a kind of an idea of how the collaboration works. So we can also preview the file. If I click on that, you can see here, it gives me the option to view it. It's very, very easy. I can hop off of this. I can go over to share. We went over that previously. I can copy the link to send to somebody. I can manage access. So again, it's very similar to sharing, but what I'm doing is I'm telling people in my organization that they can access it. Sharing is external, usually, and managing access is internal, usually. This falls back again to going through the different procedures that your staff are going to do. A very repetitive process that staff are going to do is sharing and managing information. They should understand how to share and manage information in a uniform way. As part of their initial onboarding, which again, you could have internal staff, as soon as you put them into a role, they get a PDF that covers all of this stuff. It's all automated. You don't have to spend 2 hours sitting over their shoulder going, this is how you share, this is how you do this is how you do that. You have a PDF, they sign up for your organization, they automatically get that PDF delivered to them, they can automatically follow that stuff and they go, oh yeah, how do I share files again? And they open up the SharePoint site that says newbies or it says new staff, they click on it, has all the instructions that they need on how to share information. It's very, very easy to do once it's set up. It takes a while to get it set up. Most companies take about a year to implement all this stuff. Again, companies, 63 companies ranging from 50 to 60,000 staff members. The average cost of implementation was $113,000. So you will spend some time getting these automations in place, but when they're done, again, you're going to save 36% on average of your staff. That means half of your staff are going to save more than 36% of their day. It's crazy how much time you can save by implementing these automations. You can also download the file, delete the file, move the file, copy the file, rename it. Again, we've got this automate button down here. So if I wanted to, I could copy the file as a PDF, I could request sign off, and I can even create other power flows for this. So again, if you're interested, please let me know. If you have other questions, please let me know and we can go into them. But you are able to automate an absurd amount of stuff nowadays using these tools, which are included in your $5 a month subscription. I can also look at version history, which is awesome, and we're going to look at that in just a second. So I can also click on details and see details about this. So if I click on details here, you can see I've got the ability to look at demo. This is a preview, who has access to this file, what activity has happened, who created it, where is it located, etc. So I can close out of this. Now, before we dive into the actual programs and the different applications, I want to finish looking around here. So we've noticed on the left-hand side here, we've got our SharePoint sites, we've got the recycle bin, we've got shared stuff, we've got recent stuff, we've got my files, we've got different options and actions up here. Now over on the right-hand side, we've got 3 options. So we can sort things. It's not very exciting. We can look at the way we want to look at things, compact list, tiles, list, whatever you prefer. I'm fine with this. And this is the activity tab. Now I also call this the babysitting tab, but what this does is you're able to open up your activity tab and you can see what activity has happened. So you can see that my demo account, I was setting all this stuff up yesterday, just making sure we had all the recent files and all this kind of stuff set up. And today I did a couple of things that I'm going to show you guys in a second. So what this means is that if you've got a staff member and they were supposed to get a project done on Monday, and it's the Friday prior to that Monday, and you said, how far along are you in your project, Steve? And he goes, oh, I'm almost done. I've been working every day till 3 in the morning. And you go check at the activity tab, and you see Steve hasn't done anything. You're going to be able to go, okay, that's fine. That's totally cool. You let him know that you've seen that he hasn't done anything. and then you come in on Monday morning and you look at what he's done, and all of a sudden he's crammed everything in, and you can see he was working for 18 hours each day on the weekend to get the presentation done. And then you can adjust that behavior and make sure it doesn't happen again, create a healthier work-life balance that's going to be beneficial for everybody. Again, having that amount of oversight is very beneficial. This can be used for babysitting. It can also be used productively. So a better example of this would be if you're a manager of a team, you've got 5 people underneath you, you've got to make sure everyone's staying on track. Instead of going to each of those staff and saying, hey, let me take you away for half an hour, throw you off your flow, and bother you at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm going to just go into the activity tab, look at what you're doing, and see you've been working on all these projects. Let's say I want to see what I was doing here. I can click on this, and I can see here, while I was away, changes were made by Jake Van Buschbach. That's pretty interesting. What did he do? I can see here, he's made this is not a test instead of this is a test. He added this is not a drill, and I can see let me know your thoughts. So now what I can do, I can see over here I'm reviewing things. I can edit them, review, or view. I can go over to the review tab, and I'm going to be able to go over and track the changes. And I can see what everyone's done. I can approve changes. So for example, let's say that this is a test. This is not a test. I've changed it to say this is not a test. If I want to go back and I don't agree with this change, this is a test. If I want to go over to this is not a drill, I can either accept or reject the changes. So I'm going to go ahead and reject the changes. And I will approve, let me know your thoughts. And then if I wanted to, I could go ahead and show a comment or add a new comment. So I could say, thank you for your changes. Send this off. And now Jake is going to get a notification. So up in the top right corner here, I can see Jake Van Buschbach has this document open. So let me go see this here. And now I'm in the Jake account. So if I click here, you can see JB has shown up. If I hit enter twice, you can see my cursor moves. Now if I say hello, immediately shows up, even though I'm typing on a laptop. If I go over here, I can click on this, and again, I can accept or reject. I can go under here and say hello again. That's on the laptop. Or I can go over here and type hello on my computer. And now as Jake, I don't have ownership of this document, so I'm not able to approve or reject these things. If it was shared to me in that way, then I would be able to hop in and approve or disregard these changes. So again, being able to collaborate with someone in real time is fantastic using this. I can just click out of this here, and I have full access on the web to access everything that I need to. I can do the exact same thing inside of a word processor. It's the exact same look, everything functions the exact same way, but the review tab and the home tab are where people are going to be spending a lot of their time nowadays because it's so easy to do this with people. Now the other side of this coin is if I open up Microsoft Teams, I can actually go ahead, just going to zip over there, I can actually bring Microsoft Teams up and I can do a screen share. Or I can do a phone call or a video chat. Now we're going to get into this in a minute, but just for the sake of being consistent here, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with myself here. So I've got demo account. I'm going to share my screen. I want to share this demo doc. That's connecting. I'm going to get a phone call here in 2 seconds. I can see here I've got a little notification coming up. I can click on accept screen share. And now I've got my screen share going. So I can be working on this on my laptop while I'm working on this inside of my web browser. So I can be on the phone with someone, I can be having a video chat with somebody, and we could be working on the same document, and I can have them face-to-face with me, I can have them sharing their screen with me, anything that I need, and I'm going to be able to access all of this stuff directly from the web browser. It really is very, very simple and very, very easy to collaborate with people nowadays because of this system. You don't need to worry about sharing things anymore and getting people to respond to your emails. You can just hop on a quick phone call, see each other working at the same time on a document or an Excel sheet or anything like that, and get things done much, much faster. So that's one of the benefits to working inside of OneDrive. So yeah, I think we've covered a lot of stuff inside of OneDrive here, so I will move on to SharePoint. But Again, to be clear, do a quick summary. We've got access to all the different locations for our information on the left-hand side here. We've got action items on the top. We've got different activity and babysitting tabs on the right. And we've got the ability to very securely share information. We've got the ability to copy stuff and manage our content this way. And if we want to collaborate with people, all we have to do is click this button, click share or manage access, and we're instantly going to be able to work with people inside or outside of our organization together and collaborate in real time. It really is beneficial making sure that your files are stored inside of OneDrive, because you're going to be able to access everything you need. And everything is going to be synced in real time to your computer. So I really hope that you guys find OneDrive beneficial. So we're going to move on to SharePoint. And inside of SharePoint here, you can see we've got the ability to create a site, create a news post. We've got the following. So these are the sites that we're following and favorited. And then we've got recent sites that we've been accessing. So again, a SharePoint site is essentially a place for you to store files online. It's the ability for you to communicate and collaborate with a select group of people. You're able to create, manage, and share information up there or content. And you've also got the same babysitting tab as before. So if I hop on over to our demo site, I can see here we've got a ton of information. I'm just going to zoom in again because I know that some folks in the resolution on YouTube, again, this is my first YouTube webinar, so I apologize if there's any technical glitches. I'll watch this back and make sure that I do solve anything for our next week's social engineering presentation, which I think people will find a lot more engaging. So again, I do apologize for the rantiness and the roughness of this, but I hope people are finding this beneficial. So anyways, looking at SharePoint, I'm now inside of a SharePoint site here. I can see it's a public group. I can go ahead and create new information. I create a new list, a new document library, new page, news post, link, plan, app. So you can imagine how beneficial this would be if I had sorted my organization out by organizational units, and I'd created a accounting site and a technical site and a HR site and all these other sort of things. Maybe I have events sites for every Friday. Maybe your team gets together, go for a drink. You can have people posting things saying, oh, we got to go here today. Oh, I saw a really good Caesar here. Oh, we got to go check this out. So again, possibilities are limitless, but once you organize your association, you're going to be able to go ahead and create different sites and resources for people. That's going to be really beneficial for them. So right now, we'll just focus on a couple brief things here. I can see it's been published. I can see up in the top right corner, I'm following this site. There's 3 members in this site. I have the ability to edit this site. I can look at the page details of this site. And again, I have my different locations on the left-hand side here. Underneath news, there's nothing added in here. If I wanted to add something, I could add a news post. And again, it gives you some different options here. And that way I could let everybody know that that site has been created. There we go. I can also look at the activity tab down here, so I can see that the test folder was edited. I can see a demo site group is ready. I can see all these other options here. So again, very intuitive. I do recommend everyone take maybe 15 minutes, a half hour, and go through every one of these applications and just kind of click around, get lost in it, and you will notice a lot of stuff that may be more beneficial for you. So what I'm going to do is go over to the document side of things. I can see here we've got a test folder. We've got more action items up here, so the ability to create new information, the ability to upload information, do a quick edit, sync this location to my computer, export this to Excel, use the Power Apps and automate some things. And I've got the ability to get alerts if anything happens on this site, and then I can manage the alerts that I have set up. So like I mentioned previously, if you're a manager, this is fantastic. You have an email rule set up in Outlook, people are working on documents, end of your day, you log in, that's one of your repetitive or scheduled tasks. So at the end of your workday, you know to go into SharePoint, audit things, see what your team was doing, log into what they were doing, make comments on what they were doing. They immediately receive a notification. They go, oh, okay, I got to fix that thing that Bob was telling me to do or that Sally was telling me to do. And then they're going to be able to go ahead and work without anyone being pulled off of their workday. I'm sure everybody hates it when you're in the middle of working on something for an hour and a half and you get, hey, quick question. This could have been an email, but I'm going to stand in your office door and talk to you for 5 minutes about something you don't care about. And yeah, anyways, thanks for answering this question. I'm going to keep wasting some of your time by making a stupid joke. And then I'm going to go sit back at my desk and come back in another minute and a half because I forgot what I was actually supposed to ask you about. So anyways, yeah, thanks, bye. Instead, you can just have people send you a little comment or a note. It's way less disruptive. You can audit everybody's activity immediately, and you don't have these disruptions happening. And again, if people are working from home and they don't have the ability to come knock on your office door and waste your time, then you're able to just do all this stuff remotely without calling somebody and hearing kids screaming in the background, or the dog's going nuts, or a cat's walking on the keyboard screwing up a presentation. It makes things a lot easier to be able to just share things that way. And if you do want to have that face-to-face contact, you can use Microsoft Teams to call them, screen share, video chat, whatever. Makes things very, very easy. So going inside of this test folder, I'm able to see here I've got a collaborative document inside of SharePoint. I can see who has access to it through the babysitting tab. I can click on this collaborative document. I can come in here and I can see that Jake wrote some stuff. I can see that some edits were made by Andrew. And again, it's the same thing we looked at before. I can go over to review. I can make some changes if I want to click on track changes for everyone. I can go over to reviewing. I can make editing. I can do reviewing, or I can just view the file. I can use this little AI assistant guy here, tell it what I want to do with this. Maybe I want to translate. So I could translate a selection. Let's say I go here. And it's going to ask me what language I want to translate it to. So we'll choose Dutch. And there you go. If I want to do Spanish. Makes things very, very easy, thanks to these new AI changes that they've made. So again, I highly recommend that everyone just take a little bit of time and play around with this stuff. They've also got a great new dictation option. I know a lot of people like being able to dictate stuff, but we'll get into the Microsoft Word stuff later. For now, I just want to focus on SharePoint. So I hope this kind of clears up SharePoint for everybody. Again, there's tons of ways to get lost in SharePoint. The way I recommend people use it is as a communication hub. You throw new stuff up there for specific organizational units, and you have document libraries for those specific organizational units that you have applied. So when you have a new marketer join your team, they jump in here. Underneath news, they've got welcome to company X's marketing department. Here's everything you need to know. Here's your responsibilities. Here's the resources we use. Here's the processes you're expected to complete, etc., etc. So if we go over to site contents on SharePoint, we can also go over to site usage. So again, this is for the administrators, this is for the managers, this is for the bosses. If you want to make sure you know what people are doing, the activity tab is good. It gives you that day-to-day stuff. But if you want to come in at a month end and you want to see what people are really doing, you can click on site usage. So you go again, left-hand tab, you go site contents, up there you go site usage. This site, basically dead. Nothing really defined in here, but I can look at the last 7 days and it tells me what's been going on here. I'm actually going to jump out of this and we're going to go to our internal files. I can go to site contents and I can go over to site usage. And you can see we got a lot more stuff here. So we've got 4 unique viewers, 8 lifetime unique viewers, 33% upgrade in usage since last week, 80% usage since last week. So this explains why everyone's telling me we're so busy. I can go look at the site traffic and I can see most people are doing their jobs as they should, anywhere between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. And you can see when I actually get things done. And then if we go ahead and look at the popular platforms, I can see everyone, for the most part, is getting things done on desktop, which is, again, very nice to see that happening. But I could also see who's doing things on the web, who's doing a thing on a mobile application, who's working off of the tablet, and who's working off of their smartphone. So again, very, very handy to be able to log in here. And then I can do some large metric tracking. And I can see over the last 90 days what's going on. So again, very handy to be able to sign in here and just see what's going on inside of your association and see what's really going on with your data. So they give you a lot of different insights as you use these tools. So I'll hop back over here. So I think that pretty much completes the access part of this presentation. So I'm going to move on to the create side of this presentation. So I'm going to kind of skim through these. Again, like I said, these aren't revolutionary changes that Microsoft has made. I think the next step here, where we look at the connect side, this is going to be the stuff that a lot of people haven't seen before. That's going to be very interesting. So inside of this create thing, we're just kind of going to skip through this, but OneNote, it's an online notebook. It's a free-form information gathering application. You can capture notes. You can write them out on pen on your Microsoft Surface or on your iPad or on your phone. You can do drawings, again, iPad, Surface, phone, whatever, touchscreen computer. You can do screen clippings. So if you're working on something You can just take a screenshot, throw it in there. If someone's doing a presentation, you can click the record button and it'll either transcribe or just record the audio for you in a note, and you can do a bunch of other stuff inside of OneNote. So we'll get into that in a second. Next program we're going to look at is Microsoft Excel. So looking at Microsoft Excel, it's a spreadsheet program. It's Excel. Does what it does. The main changes that they've made now is you have version history, which we're going to go over in a second, templates, I'm also going to go over that in a second, and AI-powered queries. So those are the three main things we're going to be focusing on in Excel, PowerPoint, and Word. Nothing else has really changed. They've made it more colorful. They've changed the UI a little bit. Again, we've been using these programs for as long as I've been alive, and they're still their same core programs at the end of the day. But now that they're connected to the cloud, we've got a lot of different collaboration opportunities. So looking at OneNote, we'll bring this up here. Or not. There we go. So if I want to look at OneNote, as soon as I open it up, I can see here on the left-hand side, I'm just going to do a quick UI overview. I can see this is the demo account. I can see that it's connected to OneDrive and SharePoint. I can see I've got my recent options here. I can search for things here. I've got my different notes here. I've got my notebook for demo. I've got the home page. I've got the ability to insert things. I've got the draw option, view option, and more. So again, nothing really crazy going on here. It's still OneNote. What I'm going to focus on is just kind of giving you guys a brief overview of what the software does, how it works, how you should use it, and then we'll move over to Excel. So in OneNote, I see a lot of people create wikis for their business here. I see a lot of people create vendor lists. I see a lot of people use this to store information that they need to reference. Sometimes it's public, sometimes the entire organization has a wiki of their vendors in here, they have all their information. Other times it's private and you have a secretary or you have a technical manager or you have a project manager and they just want to keep their day-to-day activity in here. They have everything sorted out by different departments. Again, this is a giant reason why you should have different organizational units set up, because you can have a notebook for accounting, you can have a notebook for HR, you can have a notebook for technicians, etc. And each of those different notebooks can have its own information inside of there. And in case you ever have some turnover in your company, or in case you're training somebody as a junior, they can just go into this OneNote file and they can look at everything they need to look at. If they're a technician, they don't have access to accounting. If they're a salesperson, they don't have access to HR, but maybe they need to have access to marketing. So you can have a lot of these synergist sharing permissions kind of go on. And as the owner, you can control someone like myself to set up those automations for you. So it makes things very, very easy. So looking inside of my demo notes here, this would be a demo notes is the or overarching thing here. So I could have just actually changed this notebook and called it marketer or presentation or educator or whatever the role is. And I've got my webinars here. And I've got some notes that I've taken. As you can see, I'm a very in-depth note taker. And I'm able to go over to Introduction to Microsoft 101. If I wanted to write out a to-do list in here, I could say go live on YouTube. Oops. Or I can complete that. And then it's done. I can mark things as important if I need to. Okay, so I can make sure to keep the cat away from the keyboard as I go live. And maybe I want to draw something, or maybe I want to insert a photo or a document or whatever. Maybe I want to do an audio recording, save that in there. Maybe I want to do a transcription, etc. I'm able to do anything I want to do, keep my data in here, make sure it's searchable, tag people, tag topics, make sure everything's accessible. So again, it's OneNote, it's a note-taking application. The main thing is organizing your association, making sure you've outlined how you're going to be storing information in here, or if you're going to be storing it in SharePoint. Depends again on how you plan out your PPDIOO. And then you can use this tool and leverage it however your association thinks will be the most beneficial for it. So yeah, I hope that kind of explains it. OneNote is one of these programs where I was thinking I should do a whole presentation about it because it is so complex, and I've seen people build like complete mind webs and just absolutely ridiculous libraries with it, and I could kind of showcase that and break that down. If you're interested in that, again, just leave a comment and I can get to that. I'm going to be highlighting social engineering first. We're going to be doing G Suite after that. And then I'll be taking anything that people leave comments on. I'll be preparing presentations so that we can get those done as well. But I think OneNote, Teams, Power Automate, Delve, Microsoft Analytics, those would all be tools that'd be very useful. But I think that it's too much for a presentation like this. As you can kind of see, I'm already going over time and rambling a bit too much. So try to tighten things up here. Looking at the version history inside of Excel, we'll jump over to that now. So if I open up Microsoft Excel, I can see here it's got demo. So these are the things that I was working on recently inside of SharePoint and OneDrive. I've got my templates up here. This is very important. And I've got my recommended options. So I'm going to just full screen this here for everybody. So I want to talk about templates really quickly because I see so many people and organizations and these kind of things, and they struggle with this a lot. They have a folder somewhere inside of their server, and that folder has a file that they copy, and then they fill out whatever they need to do inside of the copy, and then they send it off to someone, and they call it a day. You can have templates created from those files, upload them here, and then just access them directly from here. It creates a copy for you. You choose where to save it inside of OneDrive, if it's a project file, if it's a client file, whatever, and they're going to be able to automatically do that. You can delete all of these. If I don't want these, I can get rid of these templates that exist right now. Accidentally double-click that. I can get rid of those templates and I can replace them with ones that I care about. So if I have a client budget, if I have a issue, if I have a tracking Excel sheet, if I have other templates that I need to have saved, I can just keep them here, double click it, and it's going to open up for me automatically. If I have what is the cost of what is the actual cost of labor? If I'm paying somebody $50 an hour, what does that actually look like in terms of taxes, etc.? If I have an Excel sheet that's just a time tracker, maybe I want to keep that so all of my employees, as they get onboarded, can get access to that. Again, whatever resources the individuals inside of the organizational units inside of your association need, you can create the templates here, or you can have your individual department managers create them depending on how big your business is or your nonprofit is, and you can have all of this stuff written out and automated and prepared for you automatically. So if you need to create something, all you're going to do is double click on a template, it's going to come up, and you're going to be able to get to work inside of that template automatically. And you can do that with Excel, you can do that with Word, you can do that with PowerPoint. Makes things much, much easier. So going ahead and looking at this, it's still Excel, as everyone can see. It's just as exciting as it's ever been. I can go over and click this little guy, and I can insert a table. I can do whatever I want to do. This little artificial intelligence guy makes things very, very easy to do. You can just tell it what you want it to do, and it will give you suggestions here. You don't have to be an Excel expert anymore. Obviously, it's still very easy to do that. Sorry, not easy. It's still very beneficial if you're going to be an Excel expert, but you can now type in keywords, and it'll help you with suggestions. So you can kind of get around without having to take a one-year course in Excel and become a CPA and all that fun stuff. Other than that, really, again, you can make reviews. I can put in comments here to see if people are editing things. I'll jump over to a shared document, and we'll get into how to save things. But if I jump over to demo, so I'm going to jump over to my laptop again here, and I've got this demo unit open here. So I can see here, I'm going to zoom in for everybody again because it's a little bit big. Okay, so I hope everyone can see that. But up in the top left corner here, I can see Jake Van Buschbach is signed in. And he's highlighted that. Now if I go down, I can see he's now selecting is. And if I go over again and I click on test, and I can see again he's highlighting tests. So again, makes it very interesting, very easy to be able to collaborate with people. So if I go over here, I can right click, and I can see I get a bunch of different options. Smart lookup is new, thesaurus is new. There's a couple of new options here, but nothing crazy. I'm going to be able to work with someone inside of Excel and operate it that way. I can go over to here and click share, and this is going to allow me to add other people. I can see right next to that, these are the people that are already inside of here. If he's saying, no, I'm inside of sheet 6 on cell 6 and row 5 and column B, then I'm going to be able to go over and click on go to wherever Jake is. And now I'm selecting A1 just like he's on. I want to send an email, or if I want to open his contact card, I can do that as well. If I want to go over to review again, as I mentioned previously, I can show all the comments. I can do new comments. I can make notes and changes there. And it's going to allow me to look at all that stuff. So yeah, that's about that. If I want to look at the version history, so version history is another huge game changer for people. I really recommend everyone do this. You can click on the name up here. You can see I'm clicking on last modified just now, and then browse version history. If I click on browse version history, again, I wish I could make this a little bit bigger for everybody. So I do apologize, but it says current version modified by Jake Van Buschbach and modified by demo account 11:05 a.m., 11:15 a.m., 8:23 p.m., 7:25 p.m. So if I want to open up this 8:23 p.m. version, it actually brings me, I'm going to open up the 7:25 p.m. version. It actually brings me a different version of the document from 7:25 p.m. that's read only. So I can see here it says this is a test, and I'm going to zoom in again for everyone. This is not a test, is the 7:25 version. So if I wanted to, I could restore this by clicking the restore button right here, and it's going to replace the old version. So like I mentioned earlier, if you share something with someone who shouldn't be shared with, they mess it up, you're actually able to go ahead and click on restore, and I will have to close out of the original. But if I click on restore, it's going to restore the information to this old version. So again, very, very handy if you're working on multiple versions of a document with people. It's going to make things very easy for you. So the next thing we're going to move over to is going to be PowerPoint and Word. I'm going to just really quickly jump through these because, again, there's not a lot of new stuff. It's the same thing. You click the top, you get version history, you can review comments, etc. So I'll open up the, this is Mac problems. I'll open up the PowerPoint option here, and I'll show you guys a couple of different interface things. Again, these are consistent across all three of the applications. Up in the top left corner, autosave. I don't know how many times I've had different professionals, engineers, lawyers, etc., that have been working on a document, or they've been, or movie executives as well. This has happened with. They've been working on a document for 7 hours, and then their computer crashes, and then they lose everything, and then one of my employees gets murdered. So a way to prevent that and save a life is making sure that autosave is turned on and that you're saving this to OneDrive. Always make sure you're saving stuff to OneDrive. You can have OneDrive automatically back up your desktop, back up your documents folder. We set that up for most folks now by default to prevent people from losing data. Talk to your IT administrator, or give us a shout if you need help getting that set up. But autosave is incredibly important, and you need to make sure that's turned on all the time so you don't lose data. Up in the top here again, I can see what the application is named, I can see where it's saved, or I can browse the version history, choose what version I want to restore, and then get to work on that copy that I've restored. Again, same thing, if I go to review, I'm able to leave comments, show comments, etc. If I want to share this document, I can click share in the top right corner, and it's going to let me do that. So again, not a whole lot of stuff to cover with PowerPoint. Word is the same thing. We'll just jump in there just for the sake of consistency here. I can see I've got the recent files I've worked on. I've got pinned information, so if I wanted to pin a document, let's say this demo thing is really important, I work on it every day, maybe it's an accounting sheet, maybe it's a time sheet, maybe it's just something that I work on every day, or it's a project that I'm working on currently, I can go over, pin it by clicking the little pin button, and it's going to show up over here. If I want to look at files that are shared with me, they would show up here if anyone shared anything with a demo account, which they did not. And if I want to go ahead and manage this information again, I'm able to open it, unpin it, share it, copy the path, remove it from recent, or delete. So let's open it up. And again, we've got all of our templates up there as well. So really, really important to make sure that you've defined the resources that your organizational units and groups need, so they have the templates that they need access to, so that they're going to be able to jump in and start working on your letterhead. For example, if you've got a letterhead template, everyone in your organization should have access to a letterhead template. Maybe your marketers need access to marketing budget templates, etc. So we'll full screen this. And as you can see here, as we were working on earlier, we've got the changes that we made and approved. I can go over to review. I've got tracking changes turned on. If this isn't turned on the document, you're not going to be able to do any of this. And I've got it set to reviewing, and I can accept or reject changes. So again, if anyone has any questions about these, reach out in the comments, send me an email, techtips@umbrellaitservices.ca, and we will be able to answer any of your questions that you have immediately. So I'm going to move on. So we're going to move on from create. Again, I know we're going really brief here, but I want to catch up from the time we had earlier, over to connect. So we're going to go through connect, and then we're going to go into security really quickly. Security and backup, we're going to spend 5 minutes. It's just a couple checklists I want to make sure everybody has access to. In terms of connect, we're going to be looking at bookings, forms, planner, to-do, Outlook, and Teams. So I'm going to spend a good chunk of time on Teams, probably 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. We're going to breeze through bookings, forms, planner, to-do, and then we'll, again, breeze through Outlook because it's very similar to Word and Excel and all these kind of things. So looking at bookings, this is something that's new. I know a lot of people don't use it. A lot of folks are unaware of it, and I've shown it to a couple clients, and it's changed their game. They've been able to save a lot of money by spending money on other calendaring programs. It integrates with Outlook automatically. It allows them to automatically schedule appointments inside of Office 365 and give access to their customers and clients to be able to book their own appointments. You don't need to, again, have someone calling in. You can just have this up on your website, and people will be able to go ahead and automatically schedule appointments. A lot of people as well have this as part of their signature in Outlook. Every time they send an email, people are able to go ahead and click on that link. It says, want to book a time with me? Click here and see my availability. They click on it. It shows the person's availability. They can book a half-hour session. They can book an hour session. They can do whatever they want to do with that representative and book their own time slot for a time to have a Teams video chat or to come into the office or whatever they need to do. Once people sign up, they're also going to be able to get automated email confirmations, which is really nice. It's a good feature to have. They get automatic calendar updates. So if one person's trying to book an 11:30 slot and they book it, the next guy trying to get that 11:30 slot is going to be told, sorry, the slot was taken. But this availability is also available. And then we've got automatic contact creation. So if someone wants to sign up and book an appointment, they get automatically added to your directory. And if you've got your organization set up the way that we recommend, that means that anyone else inside of that person's organizational unit or group will automatically get access to that contact information as well. So in case Susan is sick or Billy is sick, the person in their department is going to be able to follow up with that person because they have access to their directory. And people can also go ahead and cancel bookings, and they can get online appointments booked if they need to as well. So we will jump into bookings and take a quick look around here. So as you can see here, we've got the Good Afternoon demo account. We've got the option to add our calendar and sync that. We can add a buffer time. So if you want to be able to book, let's say again, I'll go with the nail salon or the lash technician or the haircut barber. You're going to be able to say, I can do a haircut in 45 minutes or half an hour, but then I need 15 minutes to clean up and prepare for the next client. That's the buffer time that I need. This also integrates with Facebook, which is great. You can customize your booking page. You can set your business hours. You can create your first booking as a test to go through the experience, publish a booking website, and add your different services. So you can actually take payment from this site. You can actually go ahead and say, if you want to book this, it's again, cut and color is this much, or just a straight men's cut is this much, or if you need to come in for a consultation, it's this much, and anything you're booking, you're going to be able to add that in with a predetermined price, predetermined time slot, and people are going to be able to just go onto your website, see a nice, pretty, easy to use website, get to work on it. And again, this is included the same way that email is included, OneDrive is included, and a lot of other features are included for as little as $5 a month. So you may have to spend $15 a month per person to get access to this kind of stuff, but it beats the hell out of paying another program $100 a month per user. When you have all this stuff baked in, it's in one program, it's all tied together. The only real challenge here is sitting down and making sure that you've organized your business the way I recommended previously, so that you're going to be able to automate this stuff and integrate this stuff in a way that makes sense for the lowest cost for your business. So looking on the left-hand side here, I can see the business that I've got. So this again supports multiple businesses. I can create a new instance if I wanted. Maybe I've got a second location. I can go over to calendar, and this shows my calendar. I can do a new booking if I want. I can take time off. I can go over to the booking page. This is the website. Again, put this in your signature. I can change the theme of what people will see. I can require a Microsoft Office or 365 account from my organization. So again, if you had an internal SharePoint site and you're the big dog, you can go ahead and put this up, and then people can sign up to book a time with you and say, hey, I really need to talk to you. This whole COVID thing, I need time off, whatever. People are going to be able to book a time with you that way. You can also disable direct search engine indexing. So if you don't want the public to be able to see this, you can check that box, and Google will not show this website. And you can also say, show a personal data collection and usage consent tool. So if you are someone that is doing something where you want to be able to give your clients the ability to opt out of having their data collected so that you can analyze it, which is another great part of this stuff. And like I was talking about, we're going to look at My Analytics and Workspace Analytics on a later date. You will be able to see the age, demographic, location, etc. of the people coming in here. So I'm going to keep going back to hair salon because it's so easy with this. I'll use computer repair because that's even easier for me. So if you're a computer repair shop and you've got a ton of people coming in from White Rock, you've got a ton of people coming in from the North Shore, I'm going to be able to see that, and I'm going to say, okay, so I've got a lot of 35 to 55-year-old men in White Rock, and I've got a lot of 40 to 50-year-old women on the North Shore. I'm going to go ahead and run some Facebook ads to target that demographic in those areas, and also swap it around and hit the same demographics in different geographical locations. And I'm going to be able to benefit a lot from that. I'm going to be able to look at the analytics that I get provided from the ad company that I use, reference the information that's coming in from bookings, and again, you're going to be able to really optimize the way your business runs and focus on improving the efficiency of your business, which will inherently increase the profitability of it and allow you to scale more. Looking at staff here, again, I can add different staff in. I can add different services in. I can add different information in. See here my phone number if anyone wants to give us a call. And then I've got different customers that I can add in as well. And again, I can import customers. I can add them in here. I can set up a flow automate. They call it Power Automate now, where I can automatically have any customer added in there, automatically gets added to a directory inside of Dynamics. So you have a database that gets added to, or I could have it get added to a delegated contact list inside of Outlook. So our salespeople know to follow up with them, etc. Makes things very, very easy. So in summation, Microsoft Bookings, very great program. If you're a computer repair shop, if you're an appointment-based business, you should be using this tool, in my opinion. So the next thing that we're going to jump over to is Microsoft Forms. So this is huge for charitable organizations, for NGOs. This is big for any sort of event company, anyone who wants to gather large amounts of information from the public and then leverage that information and use the analytics that you gather to be able to run more efficiently. Looking at this, I can see we've got a data collection tool. We've got the ability to create forms, quizzes, or surveys. So again, teachers may be able to benefit from this as well. Maybe you're doing a health and safety exam for your staff, and everyone needs to be up to date on WMIS. Then you can create a WMIS test, distribute it to your technicians, distribute it to your office staff, make sure everyone understands the little skull and crossbones means poison, and make sure that people are going to be up to date with this. You can review who's filtered what, who's answered what, how long it took them to answer it, and you're going to be able to do internal safety. You're going to be able to do external charitable event sign-ups. Lots and lots of possibilities with this. So we'll jump over to Forms. That is Bookings. And looking at Forms here, I can see, again, very simple. A lot of these programs, very intuitive, very easy to use. So I really recommend people spend a little bit of time playing around with this stuff later on. I've got the Shared With Me tab, and I've got Grouped Forms. So I can go over to the demo form that I created, and I can see here, this is a demo form to collect data. And question number 1, do I have an Android or an iPhone? And people are going to be able to go ahead and click on these. What kind of phone do you have? And they can write out an answer. How dependent are you on the smartphone? They can go 1 to 5. What date does your phone contract expire? And they can input a date and time. And please rank the following phones to your preference, and they can click and drag the phones around. And please upload a file, and they can upload a file there. If I want to click on Add New here, you can see I've got most of the options already set up and outlined, but I'm going to zoom in here a little bit because, again, I'm concerned about the resolution. So if I click the little plus button down there, I can go choice, text, rating, date, ranking, like file upload, net promoter score, and section. So let's say I want to add a multiple choice thing in here. I can say, how likely are you to answer this question? And then it gives me suggested options. At all, very likely, some unlikely, neither likely, somewhat unlikely, very likely. I'll add all of them. And now we've got this new question here. So if I go over to the theme, I can choose what theme I want to have for this test. I can go over to preview. And if I got sent this link and it was from my boss and they said you need to go through this safety quiz, or if it was from somebody saying thank you for signing up for our charitable event, how likely are you to donate, what can we do to make the event better, blah, blah, blah. You can do a lot of surveys and stuff like that with this program. I can go ahead and say I have an Android or an iPhone. I have both, so I'll just say Android. What kind of phone do I have? I can throw that in. How dependent am I? Like probably 5. I don't know when it expires. I'll just choose a date. I prefer the Android, iPhone. Actually, Nokia is the best. Last 3 weeks. You can use it as a hammer as well. Please upload a file. I can choose a file that I want to upload, and it'll let me do that. And I am very unlikely to answer this question, and I can submit it. So I can now see that the response was submitted. In the settings, I can set it up so that people are only able to submit 1 response per person. They have to sign into an email account. You're best off to just leave it open, in my opinion. If you set up barriers to entry for people, they're not really going to answer too many things. I can also see up here, computer and mobile. So if I go over to mobile, I can see here, this is what it'll look like for people answering on their smartphone. So again, very intuitive, very easy. Make sure it's user-friendly. Looks good. So if we go back, I can now see there's been 1 response to this form. So it takes the average person 48 seconds to complete this quick survey, which is good. You don't want anything that's taking more than 5 minutes. I can see here I can delete the responses. I can print the summary. I can view the results individually. And then I can look down here and see what the summation is. Now what I really like about this is I can go here and click Open in Excel. And you can see it just downloaded something called Demo Form. Now look at this. This is absolutely fantastic. If you combine this with the new artificial intelligence inside of this, you are able to basically operate the same way that Facebook and Amazon are. Again, you're not going to be a big data person overnight, but you will. There we go. Okay. But you will be able to look at a tremendous amount of information. Like let's say that you were trying to figure out what the average donation was, or you were trying to figure out where people lived, etc. This is going to tell you the average age. This is going to tell you anything that you asked questions about. You're going to be able to see what the most common responses are. Imagine if this was a survey following up on a charitable event, and people were saying, what do they want to see next? Or what did they like most about the event? You're going to be able to see a ton of information and just look at it all and say, okay, 100 responses. We need to focus on these 20% of services at the next charitable event. It's very important to do that. So yeah, again, I think that a lot of these tools, the most beneficial part of them is being able to figure out what that 20% of the services you offer, bringing 80% of your profit, etc. So if you can figure out what that 20% is, what that most valuable segment of your business is, you're really going to be able to benefit from it. And these tools really, really help with that. So being able to export a survey form with 1 click like that into Excel really is beneficial. So I hope people end up using this tool. I hope they like Microsoft Forms. If you guys have any questions about it, please let me know. So just about finished up here. We're going to jump into Planner. We're going to jump into ToDo, and then we're going to zip through Outlook, zip through Teams, and then we're pretty much finished up. So going to jump over to Planner right now. This is one of my all-time favorite applications. I absolutely love this. I could not run my business without this program. It is fantastic. So there is a smartphone app for it. There's not a Windows desktop app. There's not a Mac app. However, it does integrate with Teams, which I'll show you later. So you are able to access this through the web or through Teams on your computer. So what we're going to do is take the usual tour. So over on the left-hand side, we've got some action items, new plan, Planner Hub, my tasks, favorites, demo project, different things that I've been working on. I can see recent plans and I can see all plans. So I'll go ahead and click on demo project. And I see a couple of things here. So on the left-hand side, I've got one bucket called To-Do. I can create a new bucket called Webinars. And I can see up in the top right here who has access to this plan. I can filter things out however I want. I can group it by bucket. And I can go ahead and create tasks or manage existing tasks. So let's say that I wanted to favorite this project so that it shows up all the time. And let's say I wanted to create a task underneath webinars. I could say go live on YouTube. And I'm going to be able to set a due date of today. I'm going to assign this to me. And I'm going to add this task. So now that I've created this task, I can go in here. I can see the start date is today. The due date is today. I can put a note and say, make sure to keep the cat away from the keyboard. And I can show that on the card. So that would be this little task thing over here on the left-hand side, the little preview. And I can add checklists. So I can say, open OBS, and I can say, check AV on YouTube Live. I can add an attachment if I wanted to. And I can say, remind Andrew to follow up on item X. Whatever I need to do. And I can send this out. So you can see this is pretty comprehensive. I can also choose if this is in progress or started. So it's completed. I've already gone live on YouTube. I could also just say not started. It's a pretty important thing to do. So I can go ahead and say I opened OBS. I checked audio video on YouTube Live. I hope it's working. Then I can click on go live on YouTube and it's done. So you can see now I've got my completed tasks down here. I can review it. Now imagine this in terms of collaboration, right? I would assign this to a staff member. They would go through the project. I can go in and see things as they're being done. They're checking things off on the checklist. They're leaving notes for me. They're marking things down. They're assigning tasks to other people. Maybe they've color-coded things. It makes things much, much easier to follow up on. So again, main benefit of this is being able to organize a lot of projects at once and being able to follow up on them and keeping staff accountable. So if I want to go look at the charts view now, this is another really good way if you're a manager. You can see what status has been completed, what buckets people are working in, the priority of these things. If I want to look at a schedule view, I can see the demo task is due tomorrow, and I can see that I have completed a couple things. So again, very, very intuitive project planning app. Doesn't need a lot. You don't need 20 hours of training like some of these other programs like Microsoft Projects, etc. Just a very easy way to outline tasks and make sure that your business is staying organized. And if you have small projects or things that you need to take care of, this is a very easy way to do them as a group. So yeah, I hope people find this application beneficial. So again, if you have any questions about this, please leave a comment below or send us an email. I'm going to jump over now to Microsoft To-Do, which is a task managing software. So oh, you know what? I will also open Planner one more time. So again, we've assigned tasks there. So looking at Microsoft To Do, there's the web version, which is fine. And there's also the application. So it's a smartphone app, works on your Mac, works on your PC, works on everything. So I can see here underneath my day, this is where I can say, okay, today I checked all my emails, I saw my action items. I need to make sure that I go live on YouTube today. You guys can see I'm not very creative live. And I need to keep the cat away from the keyboard. So I did not do this. I failed this task. So I can remind myself later today. Actually, you know what? I will remind myself next week. And that means that next week before I go live, this will pop up and it'll tell me to keep the cat away from the keyboard. And I can repeat this weekly because we're going to be doing weekly webinars moving forward. So if I need to add a file in here, I can do that. If I need to add a step to this, I can do that. And that's essentially it. I can also add notes. If I want to look at things that are important, these would be tasks that I've noted for myself to be important. If I go over to plan, these are things that I've scheduled out. So if I have any tasks that I've assigned to myself that are on a schedule, they'll show up underneath planned. And then underneath assigned to you, this is very cool. This integrates with Planner. So if people are using Planner and they're assigning tasks to me, just like I did earlier over here, and I'll assign this to demo. Now that will, it might take a second to sync, but it will show up inside of here. So if people are working inside a Planner and I'm just focusing on myself right now, what I need to do in my day, those Planner tasks will actually show up here. It's very handy. And now I can see a total summation of my tasks. I can see a demo list that I've created. If I need to add a task, I can type it out here. Comes up, and just like before, we have the option to add all these different sections. I can create new lists. So if I wanted to have, again, what I like to do is create different groups for the organizational units that I have. So I would have maybe an HR task list, and I can write that out and give them what they need to do. And I can create new groups with this button here. So yeah, things are very, very intuitive in this. It's very easy to use. Let's say I needed to share this HR task list. I can invite people via email, messages, AirDrop, whatever I want to do. Again, very, very easy to be able to share my task list with other people that I'm accountable to or people that I'm collaborating with. So again, big, big improvement here from Microsoft. And I love having this app on my phone. Makes it very easy to stay organized, make sure I'm on top of all the action items that I have for the day. And I'm going to be able to get things done. So yeah, I think that basically covers ToDo. It integrates with Planner. You can create public or private lists, and you can assign things based on schedules or locations. So very, very handy. Next thing that we're going to focus on really quickly is Outlook. So again, not a lot of stuff to change here. It's still Outlook. Still can manage your contacts. You can still manage your calendars. You can still manage everything you need to with it. So that noise is in my nightmares. I hear it every day. You can go over to Calendar. You can go over to Contacts. You can go ahead and share contacts with people if you need to. You can look at your task lists. Again, synchronizes with ToDo, which is just fantastic. And I can go over to Notes, and this would sync with my OneNote if I wanted. So looking at Outlook in the top taskbar here, we can see new email, new appointment, group, contact, task, note, folder, whatever I want to create new. If I want to have an action item, those are all here. If I want to schedule a meeting, if I want to reply to all, reply to someone, forward stuff, do attachments, turn the background dark or light, move things around, junk stuff, categorize things, follow up on emails. It's still Outlook, as I mentioned. It does have integrations now where I can send things to OneNote. If I want to keep things organized, I can have a focused inbox or do not have a focused inbox. I recommend everybody go into organize and turn off the focused inbox if it's on for you. I don't need a computer sorting out my email for me and saying this isn't important. I had that set up by default and left it for a little while, and they got me yelled at a couple times, so that is now gone. You can have a conversation view if you'd like, folder permissions, etc. Again, it's still Outlook, nothing crazy going on with it. If we take a quick look at the calendar, because this is Office 365, I'm going to be able to go to sharing permissions and share this again with groups, organizational units, or individuals. So very important you have all this stuff set up, because if you are somebody who's going to be sharing calendars and having things like that, even if it's just a vacation calendar or a public calendar with your staff, it's really important that people are going to be able to hop into that calendar and see that everyone is going to this location on Friday at 3 p.m. for a barbecue or whatever it is that's going on. People need to be able to see that stuff. So it's really important to make sure that you don't have to worry about hiring someone and then assigning them a calendar and assigning them a file folder and assigning them a planner list and assigning them a to-do list, assigning them all these things individually. If you just add them to your sales folder, they're going to automatically get access to all of the calendars, to-do lists, planners, everything we've reviewed today automatically. You don't need to do anything. All you need to do is set it up one time and add people to different groups, and your job is done. Makes it very easy. So that's it with calendars. Contacts is the same thing. So if I go into my contacts here, I can see Steve French, cool cat. I can go ahead and right click. I can forward it as a V card, or I can actually share this list. I can delegate my contact list. So if I had a group or a different contact list, I can delegate that. So again, if you're a CEO, you have an office manager, they need access to your calendar, you're going to be able to do all that. And then you've got your tasks, which syncs with ToDo. You can operate in here, you can share things, you can do whatever you need to do. Again, it's very, very much Outlook still. So yeah, we'll go ahead and hop off of that and we will jump onto Teams. So Teams is something, again, I'm going to do a brief overview of it today. It's something that I should do a deeper dive on because it really is like a very robust application. They've done a lot of stuff with it. It's a communication and collaboration hub. It allows for audio and video chat. You can set up different chat rooms. You can set up different team channels. You can have file sharing and storing happening inside of it. You can have shift scheduling. You can have a shift calendar inside of it. You can have a full-on calendar inside of it. You can have websites inside of it. You can integrate like hundreds of different applications with it. So I'd really like to know people's feedback and what they'd like to see with Teams. So we have one client already that's going to be sending us a list really shortly. That's going to be related to automation. So when they hire a new staff member, they want them to be able to automatically receive all of their onboarding documentation. They want to have them do a quick safety checkup, do a quick safety quiz. They want them to get a notification saying, here's all your access to all these resources that you need access to. Here's your team partners. Here's the people you need to get in touch with in order to do your job, etc. So we're going to be doing a little bit of a demo on that. But if you have something that you'd like us to highlight, please let me know. Looking over here, you can see I'm in the chat window here. I wish I could make this a little bit bigger. But on the top, we've got activity with the ability to go from feed to my activity. So activity is basically where your notifications are going to come in. If people are calling you, it's going to go there. People are liking your comments, they're going to go there, etc. If I go over to chat, I can see here, these are people that I have a chat with. So I've got my chat, got a hello here. I can do a reaction. I can save the message, edit the message, mark it as unread, share it to Outlook, go into immersive reader mode if I want to have a different viewing. I can do a video conference. I can do a phone call. I can do a screen share. So if I click on video, this is something that I always like to show people. I'll go ahead and answer this on my laptop. So I can go ahead and allow video. So I'm right here, but what I really like about this is a goofy thing. You can go over to more actions and you can click on any one of these things. So what I really like is show background effects. So what I'm going to do is that on my laptop. I'm going to go here, show background effects, and I'm going to go blurry. So this is nice if you're in an environment where you don't want people to see stuff, you're able to do this. If you wanted to have the beach behind you and pretend that we're not in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, I'm now in Mexico. And if you wanted to be invisible, you can also become invisible. So very handy being able to do that. But it is nice, honestly, for the sake of privacy. If you wanted to just blur your background out, makes things a lot easier for people. And again, being able to share stuff like this is really nice. I can also go over to chat and it'll show the chat between us that's happening. If I want to go over to share my screen, you can see here I have the option to do screen number 2, share Teams, share my presentation screens, share my live streaming, my demo, anything I want to share with people, it's going to be able to do that. I can transfer this call, I can hold it, I can consult with someone and then transfer the call. I can do keypads, I can record the call, which is really valuable, and I can turn off incoming video and show my device settings. There's a lot of options inside of Teams. So when you're doing video chats, again, I do recommend going over to more actions, doing a background effect just for privacy's sake. So something worth considering. Gonna go ahead and hang up on this person. So if I go over here now, I'm still in this chat with Jake. So if I go over to files, this is going to show all the files that we've shared with each other, and it's going to allow me to share other files via OneDrive, SharePoint, whatever. If I go over to organization, this is going to show me all of the information about Jake inside of our organization. So if I have a contact card, if I have any sort of major overarching information. Now, my organization is a small organization. We have less than 10 people, so I don't have our organization stuff set up yet. As I mentioned previously, you want to go through and prioritize what's important, and as you're migrating over, you want to do it in segments. I don't feel like I need to write out every one of my employees' organizational information until I hit 10 employees, so I'm not doing that for now. If I go over to activity, this is going to show any activity that Jake has been doing that I have access to. Again, as a manager, very beneficial. Now, here's my favorite part, going able to add a tab. So this is stuff between Jake and I that I'm going to be able to share. Let's say I want to share a website. I'm going to be able to go over here and call this umbrella website. I'm going to be able to go type in our website, post a chat about this tab, save it. And now my website loads inside of my Teams chat, which is great. If I want to go in here and add another application, maybe I want to do Power Automate, maybe I want to share PDFs, maybe I want to do Stream, which is like a video presentation kind of thing. It's where all your shared Teams videos go. Again, it's another app we can get into later. 99% of people don't use it. If you have Evernote, it'll sync with Evernote. Power Apps, Gin Server, Dropbox, so many applications sync with this, so you can do all that stuff. You can see here I can click on more apps, and we've got Rike, we've got Upwave, Planner, so we'll do Planner for now. I go ahead and click Open. There's so many. You can do bots, tons of applications. I really recommend you spend a little bit of wine or beer time just going through those apps and seeing what you think would be beneficial. But as I mentioned previously, that Planner does not have a desktop app. Now it does. I can just click on the Planner tab inside of Teams, and I've got access to my Planner stuff, which is, again, so handy, being able to just go in here and access stuff inside a Planner and get to work right inside of Teams. A lot of people think Teams is just for sending in some messages and GIFs and this kind of stuff, but it does a lot of other things. So again, highly recommend people go in here and do this. If you click down here as well, these little three dots, you can also add in a shift calendar, which is crazy. So you can have people add in their own schedule. So again, this is for the Teams channel that I've created. I've already shown you guys the chat option here where you're able to add in different applications to the different chat that you're having with someone. This is just a direct one-to-one, or maybe you have a group one-to-one thing going on. It's not very formal. What you want to do if you're organizing this stuff, again, this is where the organizational stuff comes in. I'm going to keep referencing that. You would have a Teams channel for sales that only sales has access to, which is why mine doesn't show up here. You would have a technicians channel, which only shows up for them. And inside of those technicians channel, this is what's really cool, is you're able to add different things. So for example, if I wanted to have a deliveries option, I can go ahead and add that. And it's going to go ahead and create a channel for me. And now underneath Demo Teams channel, we have a delivery section. So again, if you have a marketing one, you can have different chats for them. So maybe marketing, underneath marketing, you have social media. And then you have traditional media, and you have events and all these other things. Maybe under HR, you have public outings and public events that you and the team are going to go do. So being able to go in here and open up deliveries and saying, hey, person, so I'll do, hey, Jake, your parcel just arrived. I can send that off. I'm going to get a notification on my other devices inside of this channel, and I'm going to be able to respond to that. But again, assigning different organizational units to different channels and then creating different sub-channels for those staff to be able to communicate under, huge benefit for a lot of people. So highly recommend doing that. So again, chat, quick, off the cuff communications, quick video call, quick chat, whatever you're doing. Teams channels, a lot more focused, a lot more organized. I would recommend creating different channels, creating different sub-channels, adding in the different resources and the different applications that those sub-channels need, and you're going to notice a huge increase in productivity that way. Also, looking at the calendar, you can see, again, your Outlook calendar syncs with this. Your Microsoft To-Do syncs with this. Your planner syncs with this. So if you're going in here and you're looking at the different notifications that you have set up, you're going to have all of these things come up again, which is fantastic. And you don't have to jump between Outlook, and you don't have to go open Planner, and you don't have to go open ToDo. You can just work inside of Teams and access everything you need to access, including Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel. So again, this is the one program, I think, that has the potential. It's Microsoft, so they're probably going to screw it up, but it has the potential to be the #1 most used application in offices across Canada and America. So I'm very excited about the potential of this. Right now, it's very intuitive. It's very simple. I recommend everybody check it out. It has the potential to become a bloated mess. It's still Microsoft, so we'll see how they do. But for the time being, I think it's really important that people start using this application, because sharing information is very simple, staying organized is very simple, and staying in contact with your team and being able to access the tools that you need when you need them is very, very easy to do. I think that's about it. I'll show you guys the command bar really quickly. If you do command period, this will bring up, so the command key or the Windows key on a Mac and period brings up all the shortcuts you can do. So again, personally, I have a couple of these that I like starting a video call, etc. Some people might be constantly doing video calls that we can just do Shift U. It's a lot of different options. So command period or Windows key period, and you're going to be able to see all the different shortcuts that you can do inside of Teams. Alternatively, as well, if I click on the command or search bar at the top, I can just hit the /, and I now get the access to all these different commands that I can do. So if I want to say I'm available, I can click on available and it'll change my status. If I want to say I'm away, all of a sudden now my status is away and no one's going to be able to call me. I can say BRB, busy, call, chat, do not disturb, etc. So again, really cool being able to just hit that one little key and get access to all of these different commands. It's not overwhelming. It's there. You just have to have the muscle memory to use it. A lot of other applications are starting to get bloated as they grow in time. So I think that's it for now with Teams. Down at the bottom bar, you can draw stuff. You can do proper formatted messages. So if I want to say, so I said, hello, I need you to take a look at these action items, and do a colon. I can add in bullet points, and I can say action item 1, keep the cat away from the keyboard. Action item 2 is going to be go live on YouTube. I can then send that off to Jake, and he'll get that. If I wanted to bold items, I could do that. If I wanted to highlight items, I can do that. Tons of options. If you want to do an urgent message, so this is something that's going to remind people every 2 minutes for 20 minutes. I'm not going to send that because we'll get dinged a lot. But if I send that, every 2 minutes, Jake is going to get a notification about these messages. So if you do need someone's attention very urgently, or maybe there's a billing problem, maybe someone's having a health emergency, you can send this. I recommend you don't use this option unless you absolutely need to. You can also mark it as important, which just means it's going to be a little bit louder, nothing crazy. You can attach items. You can send smiley faces and emojis. You can use GIFs. And yeah, you can add calendar events, add stream. You can praise people. So if you wanted to give people a job well done, you can do that. That's about it. Again, it is a very, very easy to use program with a lot of potential. We will be doing a more in-depth dive into Teams at a later date. And again, I want to make sure that we're covering things that people care about. So as I mentioned previously, the next session is going to be about social engineering. Session after that is going to be about G Suite. And I have a bunch of other items lined up, but I am very interested in getting people's feedback and knowing what it is that they would like to get information on. I'm more than happy to do a 15-minute session on one application. I'm also happy to ramble for nearly 2 hours. So again, whatever people prefer, I'm happy to do it. Please leave a comment below, send us an email at techtips@umbrellaitservices.ca, and we can get to work for you guys and create content that's going to be beneficial for everybody. I do like to do this stuff in person quite a bit more. There's a lot more engagement. But again, given the situation and the zombie apocalypse that's going on, I think this is the way things are going to be for the near to long-term future. So I'd much rather get this information out to people. So again, if there's anything you would like to know about, please let me know. Final part here, we're in the last 5 minutes of it. If you made it this far, Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Hopefully you found it valuable. I'm just going to really quickly now go over 4 different threats that pertain specifically to cloud services. And then I'm going to show you a quick checklist, very good checklist on how to protect your infrastructure. And then I'm going to show you guys what to look at for backups, because we already went over how to prepare for when you move over to Office 365. Now I want to show you what to do while you're operating inside of it. Again, PPDIOO, the prepare, plan, deliver, implement, operate, and optimize. It's very important to never forget about the optimize. Doesn't matter how good your system is, how good you think it is. 20% of it's carrying 80% of its weight. Always focus on improving that other 20% and making sure that 80% is being reduced. So in terms of security threats for your business, the main things to be concerned about are security breaches. There are hundreds of basements of 14-year-old Ukrainian kids with laptops with skulls on them targeting businesses all the time. 57% of businesses that were attacked last year faced the average ransomware of $113,000. And then I think it was 60-something% of them, I have a whole presentation we're going to go over next week, 60-something% of them thought they were too small to be targeted. Doesn't matter if you're a 2-person shop with 10 employees or if you're a 150-person company. These are robots and these are automated programs digging in, looking for exploits in your system and alerting hackers that they found in. And then a hacker will get into your system. They will cause damage to your data. They will cause data loss. They will cause fraud. They will cause liability issues. As I mentioned previously, if you're a mortgage broker and you're sharing things with your clients via email and one of your guys accidentally gives out his password to somebody and causes a security breach because he thought it was the IT guy, or he thought he won $1 million because he was the 500th visitor to a website, or if he clicked on an email that he got from someone else that he just responded to and it looked like it was legitimate, but in reality that person had been hacked. Now all of a sudden you've got a multi-million-dollar lawsuit potentially on your hands because that employee just gave away all of the emails inside of your institution to a malicious hacker who is now ransoming your information and giving out your client's personal information online, or worse, perpetuating fraud on their behalf. So security breaches are very common. 91% of these breaches happen through social engineering, and that's where hackers hack people instead of hacking systems. So very important to be aware that you are not causing a security breach. You're not leaving your laptop out unlocked. You're not going ahead and sharing information with people that shouldn't have it, that kind of stuff. That's what a security breach is. Someone compromising the confidentiality, the integrity, the availability, or the accountability of your data. You need to make sure that those 4 things remain intact in order to call your data secure. That's confidentiality, integrity, accessibility, and accountability. Those 4 things are very, very important. A denial of service. This is something that could happen in case someone is targeting your business, trying to make sure that you can't reach Microsoft. So that's why I'm talking about backups in a minute here, because it's important to make sure that you're not building your house on Microsoft's lawn. If you're going to use these tools, that's fantastic, but you really need to have an off-site backup. And we're going to talk about backups in a second, but you need to have an off-site backup where in case Microsoft gets taken out, or someone breaks the connection between you and Microsoft, or your internet goes down, or anything like that happens where you can't access these services, you can just go, okay, gotta work old school. I gotta break on my laptop and work on the files that are saved on there. Or I've got to go ahead and restore from our backup and follow the backup response plan that we recommended to have earlier. And then you're gonna be able to get back to work in an expedited fashion until this service comes back up. Now, Microsoft has an over 99% uptime, so I don't see that happening, but it is still quite possible that would happen. Next thing I want to talk about is data loss. So again, someone could come into your organization and accidentally delete things. Happens all the time, where I get panic calls from people and they say, oh my God, we just lost our entire accounting folder. We're getting an audit. What the hell is going to happen to us? How screwed are we? Please help us. And I just go into the babysitting tab and I say, oh no, person X moved it into this folder. Here it is, and I restore it. Very easy to do that. So you want to make sure that data loss is something you're accounting for as well, and non-secure applications. So I see a ton of people who are constantly downloading different applications and adding things onto their phone, and they're giving these programs access to their files. So a good example is in Google, in G Suite, there's an application that you can add to Gmail to make it look a little different. Like you can do different themes, you can change the reading pane around, and you can add different conditional formatting to it.
And that program was hacked recently, and I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but that program was hacked recently, and like 600,000 Gmail accounts, all the emails they've been receiving over the last 3 years were distributed to these hackers. So if you don't need to give other developers access to your data, do you really need to have your calendar event icon show up as little cat heads? Like, I don't think that's necessary, and it's not worth the risk of giving your data out to these hackers. So make sure that you're being aware when you're sharing information online. Make sure that you've got a backup plan in case you get hit by a denial of service. Make sure that you've got redundancy in place in case you get hit with data loss, and make sure you're not giving all these random applications access to your data. Here is our security checklist that everyone, please feel free to take a screenshot of this right now. Everyone should be following this security checklist to secure your organization. If you have an IT company, or you have an individual IT guy, or you have an in-house IT company, and they are not providing if they're not providing these services or more, they need to have a good reason for why they're not providing these services to you. Otherwise, you are not secure. If you don't have critical event alerting, so what that would mean is Susie's hard drive is failing. Your IT department should be messaging you saying, hey, we got smart disk failures on your laptop. It's going to go kaput in about 2 to 3 weeks. We need to do a hard drive swap. Very important to have that. Or maybe someone just downloaded one of those add-ons that I talked about. They need to be able to go to you and say, hey, so-and-so is downloading Pokemon on their laptop. That's not appropriate for work. We need to make sure this is dealt with. And then you can have a one-to-one with that employee and make sure they understand the accessible use on their personal device or on their work devices. Talking about installing anti-malware software, it's very important to make sure that you're using proper antivirus and anti-malware, especially nowadays. Macs are more likely to catch viruses than PCs. Macs are more likely to catch viruses than PCs. If you have a Mac and you don't use antivirus, it's time to get one because, again, more viruses nowadays target Macs. It's unfortunate, but that's the way things are. You need to utilize full disk encryption. If your laptop gets stolen, or your desk or your office gets broken into and your desktop gets stolen, I can get probably 95% of people's computers that work with us, our clients either accept this or don't accept this, so we don't do it, but I can get access to your laptop, take out 4 screws, pull a hard drive out, put it into a Linux computer, and get access to all of your files. It doesn't matter if you've got a password on it. It doesn't matter what you've done unless you're using full disk encryption. So with Windows, they've got their own built-in solution. With Mac, they have File Vault now. So those do resolve this issue most of the time, but I recommend using a free program called Veracrypt. You can Google that, Veracrypt. If you're interested in that and you're one of our clients, let us know. We can apply it to your machine, but most likely it's already been discussed with your administrative team and it's either been rolled out or it has not been rolled out for specific reasons. But you need to make sure that you're doing that, especially if you have laptops on the go. You don't want to have somebody forget a laptop somewhere and then have all of this information get into trouble. You can kind of get away without utilizing full disk encryption if you have a mobile device management system put in place. So what that means is that through Microsoft 365, I can set up mobile device management, which means that if you have a lawyer that goes and breaks off from the firm and tries to do his own thing or her own thing, or if you have a staff member threaten to use your own IP against you, or if you just lose a device, whatever, it doesn't have to have drama involved with it, you can just click a button on Microsoft 365 as an administrator, and we can remotely wipe the device. And you can also track to see what devices are being used. You can set certain permissions and stuff like this on the different devices. So maybe I want the contractor who has my laptop to not be able to download things, as I mentioned earlier. I can set all that up through mobile device management. Event and audit logging is also very important. I want to make sure that as things are going on the machines, I talked about it earlier, confidentiality, integrity, accessibility, and accountability. A lot of people don't think about accountability when they're talking about security. Accountability means that when you have your data get compromised, you need to be able to look back at that event and say, how did this happen? If a house burns down, firefighters don't just show up and go, okay, fire. Anyways, we put it out. No one died. I don't really care how this happened. We'll see you guys later. They dig through the rubble and they're like, oh, here's an oily rag. Here's a here's a whatever. They find out what caused the fire. There was maybe a bad plug or something, and then they say, this is what happened. This is what you can do to fix it in the future. You need to have event and audit logging on your devices to make sure that when things happen, you know what user it came from, what device it started on, and what the source of the liability was. Otherwise, it's just going to repeat itself. Underneath networks, it's very important to make sure, again, critical event alerting. You want to make sure that you're using cloud managed infrastructure if you can. What that means is that there's a central control panel somewhere controlling your network. If a piece of hardware dies, you can just swap in a new one, connect it to the cloud infrastructure, and it'll automatically sync. It's kind of similar to OneDrive. It's just an extra layer of security. Updates are done automatically. This kind of stuff makes things much, much more secure. You want to have a hardware firewall in your business. Again, there's absolutely no reason to not have a hardware firewall. It doesn't matter if you're a 5-person business, 1-person business, or a 100-person business. You can get a Unify security gateway, and they are, I think, like $189 or $250, and you can plug it in, have all your network traffic run through that, and you're going to be using a secure network. You can also go to Cisco and pay them $75,000 and pay them for 2 to 3 year licenses that cost $12,000 each to get a firewall set up. So I recommend going the Unify way if you're a small business, and if you're an enterprise, you have to go the Cisco way and be more secure. Again, it's a balance of cost and security. So make sure you have a hardware firewall. If you're a small business or a nonprofit, again, Unify, or if you go with Shaw Smart Security or TELUS Smart Security, they have different options for you with this as well. But you need to have a public Wi-Fi setup that is completely segregated and isolated from the rest of your network. You don't want to have one Wi-Fi network that you give out to guests and you give out to the wife and you give out to the husband, and you have all these people that have access to it, and then some guy sitting in your parking lot that came in there one time to get a glass of water and got your Wi-Fi password somehow because it was written down on the secretary's desk. You want to make sure that he can't sit in your parking lot and get access to your internal file server or get access to your computer. I did a demo of this when I went to the Western Conference for the BC firefighters this year, and I did a quick network scan, and we ended up looking at 400 something different computers that were all on the same Wi-Fi network at the hotel, and I was actually able to get into a couple of these machines because they didn't have proper passwords on them. So again, very, very important to make sure that you're using a secure network and that you've secured your device. Next thing I want to talk about is warranty and support. This is for networks and devices. Make sure that you're giving Lenovo $29 for 3 years so that if you spill coffee on your machine, the guy shows up within 24 hours, he swaps it out for you. It's worth it. In terms of online accounts, this is what we talked about earlier. Make sure you have an offsite backup of all your data. So in case you have an account that gets deleted or files go missing, anything like that, your stuff is backed up offsite. Critical event alerting. If someone's changing passwords, if accounts are getting deleted, you should know what's going on as the business owner or as an individual employee that's responsible for this stuff. Again, you outline your organization, determine who's responsible for IT, then that person will get critical event alerts. All of a sudden, 15 people in your organization just changed their password. Probably something funky's going on. So it's good to get notifications about that stuff. You also need to make sure you have multi-factor authentication set up in case someone is able to get your password somehow and they try to log into your account. It's very important to have that application on your smartphone or tablet at home where it has that extra 6-digit code, then people aren't going to be able to get in and access your account. I talked about that when I was on CTV a couple months ago. A lot of people don't know that there are free applications like Microsoft Authenticator, Google Authenticator, Authy, many other programs. You sign into your account. Once you sign in on the device, you're connected. You don't need that code. If you sign in on a new device, you need your password as well as that 6-digit code. So very important to have that second layer of security. There are so many computers out there nowadays that are able to brute force passwords. It's very important to make sure that you're using multi-factor authentication. And finally, I want to make sure that everyone is helping their staff with data management policies. They're helping their staff with security awareness policies, and they're helping with staff with social engineering training. So as I mentioned, we're going to be doing some social engineering training next week. Again, feel free to tune in. If you like the stream, you can skip through it when it's over, or you can come watch it live. It's going to be much shorter next week. This one kind of got away from me, but we'll keep the next stream down to an hour. And you'll be able to review that as you see fit and maybe share it with your staff if you think it's beneficial. And same thing with security awareness. People need to be aware of what's going on. Final thing I want to talk about, and then we are done, and we'll do the Q&A if anyone does have any questions. Backup and disaster recovery checklist. Backups, everyone knows what a backup is. You're backing up your data, you're replicating it, you're putting it somewhere. Disaster recovery and business continuity are two new phrases that a lot of IT people are now starting to use. Disaster recovery means that you are able to recover from disaster. So if, again, I spill coffee on your laptop, you're going to be able to immediately recover from that disaster by going into your server and recovering the latest clone of the laptop and putting it onto a new machine. That way you're not down for 40 hours while you wait for your IT guy to go to Best Buy, and then he has to set up the computer, and then he forgot the thing, and then he needed to add your email signature, and all these other little things happen. This way he just goes, okay, here's the clone. I've got the security response or the backup response protocol set up. I'm going to go ahead and take this backup, restore it to this machine, and it's been an hour and a half because I still had to go to the store, but all I had to do was restore it. Here you go. This disaster recovery stuff works for online accounts. It works for workstations. It works for laptops. It works for servers. It works for a ton of stuff. So really important to make sure you have a disaster recovery checklist in place. So when you're considering a backup and disaster recovery checklist, these are the things you need to look at. Data storage. What is the amount of critical data that you are backing up? What is the amount of non-critical data that you're backing up? How frequently do you care about backups? What is your data retention policy? What is the location of your backups? Are you a financial advisor? If you're a financial advisor, you need to keep your stuff in Canada. If you're a lawyer, you cannot be using Google for your backups. You can't be using these cheap options. You are actually breaking the law. You are violating your client's privacy and your employees' privacy if you're keeping their data in America. So what you need to do is consider data storage. How much critical data do you have? 2 gigabytes, 2 terabytes, 200 terabytes. You got to figure that out. You also need to figure out how much non-critical data you have. That way, if your IT provider comes to you and he says, look, we can give you a backup, but in order to back up this critical data where we can restore you within 5 minutes, that's going to be $100 a month for every terabyte or 100 terabytes we have to store. Let's say it's $6 a terabyte. And you can say, okay, we've got 2 terabytes of critical information that I need access to all the time. If that goes down, I'm going to lose $12,000 an hour because my 75-person business is going to grind to a halt. Keep that data and the readily accessible stuff for $6 a terabyte a month. Okay, cool. The non-critical data, we've got 100 terabytes of video and stuff like that I don't need to access. And if the server explodes, then we can go ahead and restore that stuff. I don't care if it takes a week. We'll pay 0.01 cents for that terabyte of data because it's going to take a week to get back instead of 5 minutes. So if you can identify that, you're going to reduce costs a lot. Frequency of backups means, are you paying people to back things up every day? Is it 5 times a day? Is it once a week? What's the frequency of your backups? Are you going to be upset if you tell someone, I need my document from 3 months ago at 2:12 p.m. that was deleted? And they go, sorry, we do once a month backups. That's our retention policy. Your backup's gone. We don't have that document. Is it worth it for you to pay that extra bit of money to get a more frequent backup with a longer retention policy set up? The other thing you need to consider is the method of backups. So are you doing an on-site backup? Because that's not going to be very helpful if you have a break-in or a theft or a fire, or if you have an earthquake, or if you have somebody come in and hack all of your systems and everything is physically plugged in together. You're not going to be able to rely on that backup. I've seen that more than a few times. If you use an off-site solution, again, where is it being stored? Is it in Canada? Is it outside of Canada? Are you storing it in a place like Amazon or Google where they're going to be going through your data, or are you using something where it's more secure? Are you doing file backups? Are you going to just need access to your Dropbox when things go down? Or do you need to have a full system backup like I mentioned earlier? Do you want to just have your Dropbox stuff backed up and then you got to wait 2 hours for someone to set up your computer? Or do you want to have a full system backup, which is going to cost a little bit more, but they're going to be able to restore your stuff in 5 or 10 minutes? Again, you have to figure out what is your downtime tolerance. And that's going to be able to help you answer a lot of these questions. Again, feel free to take a screenshot of this, and you're going to be able to review this with your IT providers and make sure that you have a solution that fits your business. And then policies. 3-2-1 policy. The 3-2-1 policy means you have to have your data in all times at 3 different locations. If it's not in 3 different locations, your data doesn't exist. That's the best way to look at it. If you don't have your data in 3 different places, you don't have your data. So of those 3 places, 2 of them need to be independent of each other. So either it's on your computer and it's on Microsoft, but if there's a OneDrive sync there, that's not independent. So you also need to have Backblaze, or you need to have Jungle Disk or something like that set up. And then 1 means one of those instances needs to be archived and away from what you're doing. So again, maybe a Jungle Disk instance spins up, it takes your data, it backs it up in a completely separate location once a week. That way, if your OneDrive and computers get hit by ransomware and you just lost everything, you have that off-site backup that's a cold archive that you're going to go, okay, we lost 2 days of work instead of the last 25 years of my life. We're going to be okay. So it's important to have the 3-2-1 policy. You also need to assign responsibility, whether that's to a contracted IT provider like us, or an internal staff member, or an internal IT provider, or an internal IT department. Because whenever things go wrong, and I see this all the time, people go like that. They go, okay, the CEO's computer just got shot. He was having a drink. He spilled his coffee on it. It's fried. Where's the backup? And people go, oh, I don't know. I haven't checked on the backups in 3 months. And then you refer to your org chart and you say, but you're responsible for this. Because it's a lot more difficult for people to go, it's actually their fault, when you've assigned responsibility very clearly to people. So make sure you're assigning responsibility. Determine unique threats to your industry. So again, if you're a financial advisor, you're going to have different threats than if you're a law firm. You're going to have different threats than if you're a computer repair shop or a nail salon. Also identify critical data and resources. What do you need to back up? Do you need to have the 16-year-old computer that's been handed down to you since you bought the business 10 years ago backed up? Or is that thing going to keep running fine and it's going to keep opening Internet Explorer and running Spotify for your gym? You know what I mean? You don't need to back those up, but you do need to back up the CEO's laptop, which has all of his information and appointments on it. You need to specify your backup solution, as I mentioned previously, and schedule recovery from backups. So again, whoever's responsible for your backups, they need to be logging in and going, oh, okay, it's Wednesday again. It's the 3rd Wednesday of the month. Let me do a test recovery of these backups, because if you're not testing the recovery of your backups, you don't have backups. If you haven't tested a backup, you don't have a backup. And then finally, regularly review the procedures for recovery. Your staff, it's the same thing if you're doing a fire drill and the building catches on fire and no one has done a fire drill since like 4 years ago. People don't know how it works. It doesn't help you. So it's important to regularly review your recovery procedure to make sure that it stays fresh in people's minds. So that's about it. Again, I do apologize for going a little bit over time and rambling a little bit. I'm going to try to keep the next webinar a little tighter. I'm going to review this to see if we had any technical difficulties during this session. Please let me know in the comments down here in the live chat if we are having any issues or if people have any questions. I'm just going to quickly hop in here and see if I am missing anything. I can see Matthew said, thank you for the presentation. Thank you very much, Matthew. It was my pleasure. I hope everyone found it valuable. Again, if you do have any questions or concerns, please let me know, and I will hop on in there and take a look. And just send me an email as well if you guys have any questions in the future. I'll give it a minute or so here before I call it. And again, thank you very much to the 8 folks that stuck around. Again, I'm sure it was a little bit longer than expected. Okay, cool. Looks like we do not have any questions. So yeah, again, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. I will be updating this description with different timestamps so you can just click through instead of having to listen to me ramble for 2.5 hours to see what's going on. And that's about it. So again, thank everyone. I'd like to thank everyone very much for tuning in. Next week's session is already in the description. So if you want to sign up for that and get a reminder, you can subscribe and hit the little bell notification for future reminders. And yeah, I hope you found it valuable. Please let me know via email or via the comment section if you'd like to see anything explained in more depth, or if there's anything that was not good. You can give me some critical feedback as well. And I'm very much excited to begin doing these webinars, and I hope I can improve and provide real value to you guys in the future. So thank you very, very much for your time, and I hope everybody have a great weekend and stay safe and healthy during this ongoing zombie apocalypse. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everybody.